All right, welcome everyone to the 137th Royal Canadian Henley Regatta here in St. Catharines, Ontario. My name is Brent Duncan.
And I am Mike Petrochenko, and we'll be calling the first 9 races of the finals today. If you're just tuning in, you'll notice that the schedule has been a little bit slightly altered. So, due to thunderstorms this afternoon, any of the races that were scheduled as semifinals, starting with the U19 men's double all the way to the under 17 women's quad, those semifinals are going to be raced tomorrow morning. So, we're going to jump into the finals today. If you're interested in the time zone for those semis, please check the Henley website. They will be updating that as they go through the schedule to try and make sure that all the races can be accommodated, and hopefully Mother Nature cooperates with us over the next few days.
Yeah, it hasn't been too cooperative so far this week. There's been a lot of delays, and it's the kind of situation where it's out of people's hands. It's a matter of safety, and the umpires, the organizing committee, they've been doing, I think, a pretty good job in doing the best they can to react and stay on top of things. And here we are. So we're going to be looking at, it's originally scheduled the 3:18 race, the final for event 1, the senior women's single. It's going to be coming up in about 8 minutes or so.
So the 19 finals that are going to go today, we're going to see crews from throughout North America, including the Henley final debut of St. Stithians out of Johannesburg, South Africa. They're going to be racing in the final of the under 17 women's double. They brought a fairly large contingent with them this year as they make their debut, so it'll be interesting to see how it turns out for them.
Yeah, that should be really interesting. Very excited whenever we get those really far traveling international crews here at the Canadian Henley Regatta. Last year we had a club from Zimbabwe, I believe it was.
Yeah.
We've had Australians certainly in the past, and athletes from Great Britain, and it's always nice, I think, when you get the international flavor here at the Henley Island.
I think it really speaks to the caliber of racing here. You see so many crews, again, just traveling from across North America to come here throughout the week. And then you see South Africa, you've seen Australia, New Zealand. Eric Murray came here and rode at the Henley about 15 years ago. Last year, Argentina sent a very large contingent up here that won a number of races. Many of those athletes are now racing at the Pan Am Games this week.
Yeah, very exciting, and of course the Canadians, Americans, we always get Mexicans, I think, usually showing up as well. I think it does show the caliber of athletes at this regatta. You'll hear particularly, I think, when we talked about some of the junior races here, there's a number of athletes that are past medalists in some of our junior events that right now are also in Tokyo for Canada racing at the World Junior Championships.
Very true. I think if you look at the under 17 boys single, that's been a real bellwether event for predicting future junior national team athletes. One of those winners was Clark Dean, who went on to win the junior single at the World Championships 2 years in a row, including setting a world best time last year. And he's also going to be in the senior men's 4 at the U.S. racing at the Worlds, trying to qualify for next year's Tokyo Olympic Games.
That is one thing that's always exciting with the pre-Olympic year. The World Championships this year is going to be a lot on the line. There's a lot at stake. This is the first opportunity for any national sport organizations to be trying to get their crews qualified for the Olympic regatta next year.
Well, I think if you look in the first final we have coming up, the senior women's single, all of these women have raced for the U.S. At some point. I think most of them have. So it's an All-American final. Some of them were invited to the U.S. national team camp, didn't quite crack the team this year, but they're going to be using this hopefully to springboard themselves into a spot next year for Tokyo.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this race. The pedigree is quite exciting. Like you said, Mike, there's a lot of international history in this race. So looking just across the board, you've got Nyack, that's Bridget Schodorf, Arion, that's Meredith Kisting, USTC Princeton, Teresa Rokos, Craftsbury, Taylor Goetzinger, USTC Princeton again, Ali Rusher, and Craftsbury Alex Spalding. And I think from what I could find at least, there's at least 4 out of the 6 have raced for the U.S. squad, and a number of them have medals as well.
They have, and you'll see in the senior events all throughout this week the caliber. Last year's championship men's single, Andrew Campbell, won the event here and went on to win a silver medal in the lightweight single at the World Championships. So we're just here looking to the right of your screen, lane 4, Teresa Rokos, rowing out of the U.S. Training Center in Princeton. And on your left, Meredith Kisting out of Arion. Arion, it's an elite rowing program that they started in 2016 that runs out of Saratoga. So Meredith, she's currently working also as a grad assistant coach at Duke while pursuing a PhD in molecular biology.
Wow, that sounds like a lot to balance. Good on her.
Okay, so we're just a couple of minutes away from the start. And you see right now there's a crosswind coming out of the west, going to push the boat slightly over. So the aligners are going to try and make sure all the boats are safe. We're not sure yet if they're going to a quick start. I don't think they will be, but if they do a quick start, it just means that the umpires don't do the roll call. Once they have alignment, they will call attention, and then they will switch the start light from red to green, and the athletes will go. So you can see them struggling a little bit just to keep the bows straight as that wind pushes them over a little bit to the side. Okay, and just on the left of your screen there, that's Bridget Schodor from New York Athletic Club. Lane 3 beside her is Meredith Kisting out of Arion. Again, lane 4, Teresa Rokos, U.S. Training Center, Princeton. And yeah, in lane 5, we're going to see Taylor Goetzinger from Craftsbury. Lane 6, Ali Rushner from U.S. Training Center, Princeton as well. And lane 7, Alex Spalding from Craftsbury. Alex and Taylor are both part of Project Green, which is another high performance program that's run out of the Craftsbury Center in Vermont. They also support many athletes looking to make the jump to the cross country ski team in the U.S.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that aspect.
Yeah.
So the crews will just be trying, the individuals, the scullers, just trying to keep their lines, waiting for the umpires to let them know. As you said, Mike, it could be a quick start, but it doesn't look like the wind is, certainly the water is flat enough that they might not have to go to it.
And I think with senior athletes too, the officials will feel pretty confident that these athletes can maintain their course while going through roll call and not giving anyone an unfair advantage.
The one thing I do like when you do get that westerly wind, you can just see, certainly Mike and I can see, hopefully you can see it at home, there's the Canadian flag that's up here on the top of Henley Island, and it's just blowing in a way with the wind where you can actually see the flag. It's just a nice little thing for Canadian Henley as we get the first couple finals underway in a couple minutes.
And for this event here, the athletes, we started on Tuesday with 7 heats. There were 45 entries. The top 3 moved on to the semifinals, and then out of the 3 semifinals, the top 2 winners moved on here to the finals. So there are a number of very strong athletes who didn't quite make the grade for the final. So these athletes have had to work very hard to get to this point so far. Time-wise, all fairly close. The fastest qualifying time came out of lane 6 with Ali Rush. A second behind her was Taylor Gertzinger, and then 2 seconds behind her was Teresa Rokos. So the boats that are racing in lane 4, 5, and 6, they won their respective semis, and lanes 2, 3, and 7 were second place in their semifinals.
So a fun fact that I learned when I was doing a bit of my research yesterday for today's racing, Ali Rusher, she has a family pedigree in this sport. Oh, we've got the race underway, so I'll put that thought on hold.
Looks like Teresa Rokos got off to a clean start, as did Meredith Kisting, taking off cleanly, trying to take an early lead. One of the challenges with the single is that you start to see a little bit more strategy put in place. Not all athletes are going to try and jump out to that early lead. They're going to try and conserve their energy a little bit, so you might see a little bit more cat and mouse played in smaller boats than you might see in an 8.
I think especially at the senior level where you find athletes are going to have that much more confidence in their ability to maybe they just want to walk through and have a strong body of the race. That could very well be people's goals. They could have a little more faith. You find, certainly I find coaching some junior athletes sometimes, you don't want to give them that leeway, that leash to go in the middle, and you just want to make sure they're done and dusted by the end of the race, one way or another.
Yeah, I think with these athletes, they know what their race plan is going in. Uh, with the experience they have trying out for the U.S. national team, they probably know each other fairly well and have a good idea of where their strengths are. You can see the athletes here coming up to approaching the 500-meter mark.
Looks like a pretty clean spread right now. No, at least on this angle, no clear winners at the moment, which makes for a really exciting race.
Yeah, looking at these boats, there's about 10 seconds in difference in qualifying times out of the semifinals. But a lot of the athletes, they know how to pace themselves in the semifinals. So they're going to, in a lot of cases, race to qualify, try and conserve that energy for the finals.
So as I was saying before, Ali Rusher, the sculler out of lane 6. So when I was doing my research, it turns out the family behind her, or I guess you could say ahead of her, has quite the pedigree. So she is a Stanford graduate, and her older sister was on the team at the same time. So that's two girls racing in the NCAA at a pretty not only high caliber athletic program, but high caliber academic program. Both their parents also Olympic oars people, Olympic medalists, in fact. Their father in 88 and their mother in 92.
Okay, and there we have a nice clean shot of Meredith Kisting out of area, and you can see the wind pushing them a little bit. But the athletes have been handling the conditions fairly well so far.
Yeah, you can just see she's rowing really well for the conditions, keeping her bow nice and straight, not getting blown over, not getting turned in the wind as it really is in that second 500 when you get the western wind. You get the opening between the island and the mainland. It can be challenging for some athletes, but all these scullers doing a really great job through what could be the most challenging conditions of the race.
And as you come through the 1,000-meter mark, it still doesn't look like there's a lot of space between these athletes.
Yeah, looks like a lot of closed water, at least in the photo. Mm-hmm. And certainly closed water in a single at this level, that's nothing to speak of. About 3 seconds, but it's quite easy with the single. They pick up speed and could lose speed so quickly that no lead is safe at this point in the race.
Yeah. I think it looks like Taylor Goetzinger might be out into a bit of a lead. Taylor won a gold medal in the women's 8 at the 2012 Under-23 World Championships in Lithuania. She also raced at the 23 World Championships in Korea, coming fourth in the pair. And we see over in lane 7, Alex Spalding. She's also a gold medalist in the women's 8, won in the Under-23 8 in 2015 in Bulgaria.
Yeah, and it does look like, I think that's lane 6 out ahead of her.
Yeah, it looks like Ali Rush.
Yep.
Ali raced in the women's 8 again, 2018 at the Under-23s, winning gold in Poland. She also raced at the 2017 Under-23s, coming 10th in the 4. Here's a shot of some good clean sculling from Bridget Schodorf out of New York Athletic Club.
Now, she is an Ohio State grad and has raced in her time at both Women's Henley and the Henley Royal. Those are two regattas hosted in Henley on Thames in England. Henley Royal Regatta, of course, where the Canadian Henley takes its name.
From that last shot, it looks like Teresa Rokos out of the training center in Princeton may have jumped out to a lead here on our competitors. Teresa rode in the varsity 8 for Harvard this spring, originally from Altadena, California. Also, past member of the U.S. Under-23 national team, coming 10th in the women's 4 in 2017. So the athletes in this race, they are going to be competing for the Lady Henley Trophy. This is an event that's previously been won by Silken Lawman. She won that 3 times. Marnie McBean who's been named as the chef de mission for Canada's Tokyo Olympic Games. She also previously won this event. And it was an event that was first raced in 1972, won by Vesper, and at that point, the women only raced 1,000 meters.
Yeah, in fact, in recent years, the last 2 years, this event has been won by Michelle Truax, both of the last 2 years, but both times racing for different clubs. So last year, Michelle won in a time of 7:24.87 for the Winnipeg Rowing Club. And the year before, she was training out of Vic City Rowing Club in Victoria on the west coast here in a time of 7:34.71. Looking now as the athletes are coming into the final 500, it looked like that was, I think that was Ali Rusher, or
I think it was Alex Spalding there over on the far side in lane 7 that's challenging Teresa Rokos right now.
Okay, yeah, good eye.
And you see they're about to hit the red buoys. So when they hit those red buoys, it signifies that they have 250 meters left to go in the race. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of daylight between Rokos and Spalding at this point.
Yeah, that's really tight racing. They have done a good job of separating themselves a bit from the pack. We'll see who's got the final sprint. Certainly on the outside, Alex Spalding is throwing what she's got at it. You can see as she's taking her stroke rate up. See if there's going to be much of a response from Teresa. I'm sure she's not going to let her go away with it.
No, and there's 2 races. You have that gold medal race going on, and then behind them there's Ali Rush and Gertzinger going. But in this event, in this regatta, there is only a gold medal. Ooh, a slight
bit of a bobble there. But I don't know if there's going to be enough time to capitalize on that. I think that's going to be her holding on. Teresa looks like. Taylor. And that's a Henley gold, unofficial. Of course, until we get the flag from the umpires and everything. Done right. We'll keep you all posted as we get some unofficial times. And then official results will, of course, get posted on the website later today. As we move now to the top of the course, we've got event number 2. This is the men's senior lightweight double.
So on the left side of your screen in lane 2, we have Leander out of Hamilton. Lane 3, Hanlon out of Toronto. Lane 4, Kingston. Lane 5, Botafogo de Futebol y Regatas. Lane 6, Montreal. And lane 7, Ridley Grad Boat Club.
Yeah, so mostly a Canadian event, but there is that one that standout crew out in lane 5, Botafogo out of Brazil. They come up here, it seems, every couple of years. They bring some small crews. I personally remember in 2013 they had a pretty quick under 23 lightweight men's pair. That was a little more personal experience though.
So for Botafogo, the stroke seat Diego, he raced for Brazil at the 2017 World Championships, finishing first in the C final in the light men's quad. And his partner Diego, he came 5th in the B final in 2012 in the lightweight men's quad as well.
Yeah, both of those athletes for the Botafogo crew have pretty decent history in terms of racing for Brazil over, I would say, really the last decade.
There's a shot there of Ridley Grad Boat Club, Sam Ennis and Samuel Court and Ethan Enns.
Botafogo not the only crew with some international pedigree. I know certainly Andre Vovk out of the Hanlon Boat Club. He went to FISU, that's the World University Games, in 2016 in the lightweight men's double. His double partner, Fabian, as it turns out, has studied aerospace engineering and has a master's degree in related fields. That's pretty impressive to be here in a senior event. We were talking before, one of the athletes with completing, PhD. Was it biology you said from the previous race?
I believe so. And I think if we look at the Kingston boat as well, you have Owen Kane. He's a PhD student in early literature at Queen's, and his partner Sean Whitehall has a PhD with a focus on mechatronics. So a very well-educated field in this race.
And they're putting it all out there. You can see that crew in the photo.
Botafogo, looks like they've been making a course correction there as the wind had pushed them over a little bit, and now they're moving back into the middle of the lane, trying to stay out of the buoys.
Yeah, just probably getting pushed around, I guess, to the same degree as the women. One of these are still small boats, and the pedigree certainly here from the Botafogo crew. Those athletes have been sculling for long enough at a high enough caliber. They should be able to handle these conditions.
I think so. And based on the times in the heats, Botafogo certainly they were about 10 seconds ahead of their closest competitors, which would be Hanlon. So Botafogo won their heat in a time of 6:35. Hanlon won theirs in 6:45. So there were 12 entries in this race. There were 3 heats. The 12 entries, 2 heats, top 3 made the finals. And it looks like Botafogo rowing quite comfortably in this crosswind, opening up a considerable lead at the 1,000-meter mark.
Yeah, they're certainly into a rhythm now. It's looking quite clean, very controlled. Blades are going in nicely together. And it looks like they've really started to open on the field, I think.
Yeah, very controlled rowing right there. It doesn't look like they're being placed under pressure. They are in control of the race at this point.
Nice photo here on your screen of our winner of the senior women's single on the podium at the grandstand, receiving, as Mike, you mentioned, the Lady Henley trophy, her medal, and getting a nice photo there. The race that is in progress, they'll be racing, of course, for the Stuart H. Fleming Trophy. It was first presented to the winner of the senior men's coxed pair starting in 1977, later reassigned to the senior 155-pound double in 1985, and finally the senior lightweight men's double in the year 2000. Stu Fleming, for whom it's named, was a St. Catharines lawyer and a great supporter of rowing. Last year, this event was won by the Guelph Rowing Club, a combination of Spencer Keelar and Thomas Markowicz. Thomas has been selected to the under-21 program for Canada this year, and Spencer Keelar recently raced at the under-23 championships for Canada in the lightweight men's single.
Yeah, we mentioned earlier the international crews coming to this regatta. In 1994, this event was won by the Royal Hong Kong Yacht Club.
Cool. That is a fact I definitely had no idea of. That's really neat. And here on the wide shot, you can definitely see what Botafogo has done to the rest of the field. They have made themselves stand out quite distinctly as they've moving away. It looks like the next closest is going to be Ridley Grad, but there's a bit of open water there certainly. And Ridley Grad, even they look to be maybe some open water ahead of the rest of the field. So Botafogo looking under control, looking like it's their race to have as they enter the red buoys, signifying the last 250 meters of the senior men's lightweight double here at Canadian Henley.
Yeah, I think you just saw Ethan Enns take a look out of the boat in the Ridley boat, looking over to see. It looks like Hanlon on the far side was challenging them to see who's going to finish second. Sam Enns, he's an applied science student at UBC. He also won the junior men's quad in 2017. So he's just 2 years into under 23 eligibility.
In the top left of your screen, just as we watch, so the top right was the race in progress finishing. The top left, that'll be the next race, the U19 men's single getting in the gates. But first, we've got to watch Botafogo as they come to the line. Even though they've got control, they're doing a nice sprint to the line, not leaving anything out of their control as they cross the line with a pretty handy win, and see a bit of a handshake there. Congratulations to those athletes. Of course, all of our results are unofficial until we get the white flag from the umpires.
Just on the left-hand side of your screen there, you can see the flag for the 2021 Canada Summer Games. Niagara is hosting them, and Henley will be the site of the rowing events at those games.
Yeah, they announced that at the kickoff for the 2021 Canada Summer Games, which was also combined with the Henley opening ceremonies Monday this week. I think what better way to not only launch the event, but also announce that, yeah, the Canada Summer Games Regatta in 2 years is going to be included in the Royal Canadian Henley Regatta. Well, start the partnership off now. That's I think a really exciting prospect for the athletes now, that probably the ones we're going to see in this race here, the under 19 men's single. They're going to be eligible in 2 years for Canada Summer Games, so we'll see how many of them can make that transition over the next 2 years.
Well, it's interesting. The chair of the 2021 Canada Summer Games, Doug Hamilton, he won this event, the junior men's single, in 1980. Also, Doug's two sons, Fred and Kyle, both play in the NHL. So looking at your screen there, going from the left to right, on the left, lane 2, Michael Kiselev from Narragansett. Lane 2 from Dons, we have John Wesley Appleton. Lane 3 out of Calgary, Andrew Hubbard. Lane 4 also out of Calgary, Michael Klassen. Lane 5 from Halifax, Emerson Crick. And lane 6 also from Don, Kyle Newmy.
Now the two athletes from Don that's in lane, as you said, Mike, lane 3 and lane 6, they're coming into this race with a Henley Gold already under their belt from last year. Both of them were in the under 17 men's quad, which is an event we'll see just in about an hour or so. But they won that event last year for the Don Rowing Club. So now they're stepping up. They're in the bottom year of that under 19 eligibility, and both of them have made this final. That's a pretty impressive step.
It is. You have both from Don, also from Calgary. You have Andrew Hubbard. He was a bronze medalist in the junior men's single at the 2018 National Rowing Championships out in Burnaby. He's going to be going to Queens in the fall.
Quite fitting. In fact, later today we'll be joined by one of the Queens coaches, Katie Brugling, a local here.
Yeah, both Andrew and Michael, they've been selected to the 2019 Team Alberta for the Western Canada Summer Games.
Meanwhile, Emerson Crick, he raced earlier this summer for the Canamex team. That's our junior development crew, I would say, for Canada. A fun regatta, I think, between Canada, America, Mexico. It was hosted this year in Saratoga, which seems to be a rowing venue down in Florida that's hosting more and more high-caliber events. It's really exciting to have another site similar to St. Catharines in North America.
Yeah, and we seem to be experiencing the same thunderstorms they had for the Under-23 Worlds. There's a shot of Andrew Hubbard out of Calgary. Seems to be, it looked like he might have jumped out to a little bit of a lead there from the last wide-angle shot that we had. He raced in this event last year, coming 4th. And he won his semi with the fastest time of the qualifiers in a time of 7:24.36.
Very exciting. And in the shot now, you can just see Botafogo as they're coming up to the podium to collect their Stuart H. Fleming Trophy and their Henley Gold medals. Well done to those athletes.
Looks like Rick Crooker, president of St. Catharines Rowing Club, is handing out the medals to them right now.
Just saying a couple words. I'm sure it's some words of encouragement and congratulations.
I don't think you can see how much this regatta, the Henley medals, mean to people. That's why you see athletes with international experience still coming here, because it is such a rare commodity. You only get gold if you win this event, and it's high caliber competition.
Yeah, turning back as we will get back to the race that's in progress, the under 19 men's single. So last year it was won by Liam Simpson from the Argonaut Rowing Club. As we speak, Liam is actually in Tokyo. He's racing for Canada in the men's quad at the Junior World Championships. Again, like you said, it's the Canadian Henley Regatta can be not only a stepping stone to the next level, the international level, but if you've been at that level and you're looking for something to kind of keep you going, keep you on the cutting edge, give you high caliber racing if you're not at that senior level, great opportunity for international crews to come here to St. Catharines.
Yeah, and it looks like Andrew Hubbard has opened a bit of a lead, but Michael Klassen and Emerson Crick from Halifax aren't letting him get away. Just coming past the 1,000-meter mark, it's still a fairly tight race, and you'll find in small boats like singles, a lot can happen. Some of these athletes might have been conserving themselves a little bit and are going to try and make a stronger push as they move into the second half of the race.
I'm sure Andrew Hubbard, coming off of that fourth place in this event last year, clearly well motivated going in, as you said, Mike, last year, going from the summer into the fall season, coming home with a bronze medal at NRCs in Burnaby. I'm sure, in fact, some of that helped prepare him for today. All week we've had these delays, and NRCs last fall in Burnaby, there were fog delays on at least the weekend, the Saturday, Sunday. Challenging situation for athletes to find themselves in. You start to get ready, you start to get in the mindset, getting ready to race. Maybe you start your warm up, your dry land activation, and then there's this announcement that racing's been delayed. And you have to find a way not only to channel that energy, and you also have to prepare your body to cool down, get ready to go through the process again to warm up. You may not even know how long you have until that process, and then you have to then get your mind around all of those steps and not get lost, not get stressed out over the fact that you do have to go through that process again.
That's true, and I think for junior athletes, hopefully by U19 they've experienced this enough. Both Andrew and Michael, their coach Chris Davidson, rode for Canada in the light men's 4 in the Sydney Olympics. So he's been through these regattas. He's going to work to prepare them to make sure they're mentally set up. But it does look like Andrew has opened up a somewhat commanding lead as they've passed the 1,500-meter mark and are approaching the red buoys.
Certainly the left side of our screen, Kyle Numi trying to move himself back into a position. Might be a bit of a battle between him and Michael Klassen from the Calgary Rowing Club, fighting for second place. But as you said, it's only Henley Gold, so although they might get caught up in fighting each other for that second place, right now it's still Andrew Hubbard's race to win, coming into the bottom 250 meters of the men's under 19 single. Into those red buoys now. The crowd's going to start going. They're going to hear the cheers. They've got, at this point, 20, maybe 30 strokes left. And Andrew, it looks like, might even be walking away from the rest of the field at this point. Just takes a look. Really good performance here from Andrew out of the Calgary Rowing Club. They've done a really good job the last few years developing athletes, both men and women, from the junior level all the way through to senior club and this international squad. There's a number of athletes on the senior Canadian team. Nice slap of the water. I think Andrew's a bit happy. Bit of revenge after coming fourth last year in this event. Calgary Rowing Club, a really strong club program. And helping athletes along the kind of athlete development pathway.
Yeah, I think you've seen the junior men the last couple of years step up. For about the last 4 or 5 years, the senior and under 23 women's program really carried the flag for Calgary Rowing Club, and you can see that spreading throughout the other programs out of their club.
There's the white flag from the umpire. He or she is going to wait until, double check from the athletes, make sure that there's no protest, but the white flag does mean that they think it's going to be a clean race.
And we're here at the start again of the under 23 women's lightweight single. From the left-hand side of your screen, there's Greta Chase out of Kingston in lane 2. Beside her, Julia Lindsay from UBC. Lane 4 is Vesper Sophia Lewis. Lane 5, another UBC boat, Renee Lafreniere. Lane 6, North Star out of Halifax, Hannah Meeson. And lane 7 out of Boston, Riverside, Bridget Bain.
Really exciting race here. If you look at the results from the speed orders this spring, that's athletes that were trying to make maybe an under 23, under 21 team for Canada. You'll see that both UBC athletes placed in the A final. Julia coming 3rd, Renee coming 5th. But right now, Renee with the inside lane as we go into this final.
Well, Julia from UBC in 2016, she won the women's lightweight single Canadian University Championships. Renee, this past fall, was 2nd in the light women's single at the CUs as well.
Yeah, and for Kingston, that's Greta Chase. She also at Queen's high caliber school. She raced at the Ontario University Championships in the lightweight women's single placing with a silver medal at that as well. And in fact, Hannah Meeson, despite being from the East Coast, she actually goes to school on the West Coast. So she's a University of Victoria student, and she came home again from Canadian University Championships last year with a silver in the lightweight women's coxed four.
Yeah, Hannah also rode for Nova Scotia at the 2017 Canada Summer Games. She's currently working as an apprentice coach with Rowing Nova Scotia this summer as well.
On your screen right now, Andrew Hubbard receiving his plaque medal, and he's going to get a chance to hold that trophy, get some photos. It's a really exciting opportunity for a young athlete.
I think going to Queens, you'll see in the last year or two, they've started to put more athletes on the national team again. They've had a fairly strong focus on their small boat program, and with the new coaching staff, it seems to be that they're making they're really helping the athletes progress to that next level.
The trophy that the under 23 lightweight women's single, they're going to get to host, whoever takes it home, they're going to get to host the Harold and Dorothy Cove Memorial Trophy. It's dedicated in 2010 in memory of Harold and Dorothy. Harold was a former president of the St. Catharines Rowing Club, and Dorothy was a longtime member of the Henley Island Helpers. The first winner of this trophy was Alethea Hazaras from the Leander Boat Club. Right now, it looks like that might be Renee out to a lead as the athletes are coming past the island, I believe. No, that might be actually approaching the 1,000-meter mark.
Yeah, Renee is a graduate of Brentwood College out in Victoria Island. She's currently attending UBC as a kinesiology student. Last year, she won the under 23 lightweight women's pair at this regatta.
Yeah, so Renee this year, you can just see her. Oh, that's Julia on your screen. Julia, for the last couple months, has been training abroad. She hasn't been training out of UBC. She's, I believe she was on exchange down in Seattle and was away for the summer. Obviously coming back to her team, really excited to get into racing and racing one of her teammates that did stick around Vancouver, training out of the John M.S. Lucky Boathouse down in Richmond, British Columbia.
So yeah, we have Renee out to a bit of a lead, and then just beside her, Hannah and Bridget out of North Star and Riverside battling it out as well.
Oh, it is Julia with her bow ahead. So a bit of a battle between UBC versus UBC. Maybe a boat, half a boat, can't quite tell.
Sure, Craig Pond's happy to see this right now.
and of course, the assistant coach as well, Zoe Fettig-Wynn. She's, I'm sure right now, probably divided between watching this race and prepping the senior women's 8 that they have racing later today. But Julia right now with a commanding bit of open water over her teammate, and we'll see what the rest of the field can do in the second half of this race.
Yeah, there's just a shot of Sophia Lewis out of Vesper. Sophia came second in the under 23 lightweight category at the 2018 World Indoor Rowing Championships and was invited to the under 23 lightweight camp in the US this year.
Julia really striding, making this third 5 hers as she's moving away from the rest of the field. Julia was in 2017 on Team BC for the Canada Summer Games.
And that is quite a bit of daylight she's opened up between herself and the rest of the field. Just on the left of your screen there out of Kingston, Greta Chase, and beside her, Lindsay Julia.
Yeah, and I'm sure, as we said, the two UBC women's coaches going to be really excited for this race. One thing to keep in mind is the efficiency standings. This will be a really exciting race for them right now. It's not just a raw points total that you might see at some championship regattas. Here at Canadian Henley, what you see is efficiency. So it's the most potential points that your club can field. If you get into a final and you come 6th, that's not going to be worth as much as if you come 1st. But it doesn't matter whether you've got an 8, a lightweight single, it could be anything. They're all going to be weighted equally so long as your club is performing well. So a 1-2 finish, like it looks like UBC is going to put out from this event, that's going to help them. Now, we mentioned the two coaches for UBC. A lot of this summer, they were coached by, certainly Renee, who was at the UBC Boathouse, coached by Zoe Fettig-Wynn. She's the UBC women's assistant coach to Greg Pond. Herself a pretty accomplished athlete. In 2014, she went to the under-23 World Championships in the women's straight four, coming home with a bronze medal. So really exciting here as we're coming into the red buoys. I'm sure Julia, off to a pretty commanding lead as we saw in the third 500, is just going to be looking to keep that as open as she can over her teammate Renee, as the two of them, the two scholars from UBC, lead the field in the under-23 lightweight women's single coming to the line. It does look like Renee's closed the gap a little bit as we're coming to the close of the race, but Julia doesn't look exactly like she's being pressed. She made her move in the third five. She has control of this race, and it looks like she's going to take this race.
Yeah, this event was first introduced in 2000 as an age category, and since then Kingston has the most wins with 4, winning with 4 different athletes. And there we have UBC 1-2 finish.
Wow.
Followed in third by Sophia Lewis out of Vesper in Philadelphia.
And then North Star, I believe. Yeah. That was a great race. Really exciting. In the top left of your corner, you can see the next race has started. That's the under-23 men's heavyweight double.
So on the left-hand side of your screen in lane 2, there's Cambridge Boat Club out of Cambridge, Massachusetts. Lane 3, Leander out of Hamilton. Lane 4, St. Catharines. Lane 5, Peterborough Rowing Club. Lane 6, Calgary Rowing Club. And lane 7 out of Philadelphia, Crescent Boat Club.
Again, this will be another exciting race with a pretty high pedigree from a number of the crews. The St. Catharines crew, Yastrzemski goes to Boston University. He went to Junior Worlds in the coxed 4 last year for Canada. McAlpine, he attends Harvard. He went to Junior Worlds in the double in 2016. Carl Hare, he is in the Calgary crew. He goes to University of Victoria. He was a teammate of Yastrzemski last summer in that coxed 4. So you're seeing former teammates back at their home clubs right now, racing each other a summer after racing at Junior Worlds together. It's really exciting.
It is. There's, again, like you said, a lot of pedigree in this race. In Leander, you have James Sinclair. He rode at the 2017 Canada Summer Games with Ethan McAlpine as well, along with Dan Bullock, who's racing for Peterborough. Dan was also the 2018 Row Ontario Oarsman of the Year. And last year, he had quite the Henley. Dan won the under-23 single, the Champ 8, and the senior double.
Yeah, really exciting summer for Dan last year, and of course he turned that into a pretty good year. We were talking earlier about the Calgary Rowing Club producing and developing these athletes. I think this the point on Carl, crewmate of Kyle, Carl Hare, the stroke steed, coming off of Junior Worlds, back here already in a final of the under-23s. Same thing with Yastrzemski for St. Catharines in lane 4. Carl Hare, the little brother of Nicole Hare, again, another example of the Calgary Rowing Club developing and producing these athletes. Nicole Hare has been on the Canadian senior squad for a few years now and just constantly in the mix. A great athlete.
And there we have a shot of Calgary on the right-hand side of your screen, and beside them, Crescent Boat Club. Stroke seat of the Crescent Boat, Colin. He won the under-23 quad in 2017 here at the Henley Regatta.
And that looks like, yeah, St. Catharines out ahead, being pushed by Calgary. And after that, Peterborough. That's, I think, how they're sitting all right now. Really tight racing. No, not much to give between certainly those three leading crews.
No, it'll be interesting to see what happens in this third 500. Again, we saw in the previous race in the lightweight women's single, the third 500 was where you saw UBC jump out to a fairly commanding lead. And you can see a slight bit of open water here. St. Catharines looking to open that up a little bit further as they stay in control and try not to give Peterborough an opening.
Yeah, and there, as called for, Julia Lindsay on the podium, getting the Harold and Dorothy Cove Memorial Trophy and her Henley Medal. The under 23 men's double, that trophy is the Bill and Harry Trophy. So it was first assigned to the junior men's double in 1972, later reassigned to the intermediate double in 1986, then the senior B, so the under 23 double in 2000, which was rebranded from senior B to under 23 in 2009.
So in this under 23 men's double, there were 32 entries in this event. We started with 4 heats on Tuesday. Top 3 made it into the semis. And then from each semi, the top 3 moved on to the finals.
Yeah, and it looks like St. Catharines holding on to that lead. That move they made in the middle of the third 5, quite distinct. And you can see now in the shot that they are just in control of this race.
There again, two strong athletes rowing in the United States. Yastrzemski at Boston, Ethan's racing at Princeton, and Ethan was bouncing back and forth between the 1V and the 2V8 throughout the spring. So they have lots of racing experience in the spring, and it looks like they're in control here with Peterborough and Calgary looking to make a push as they head into the last 250 meters of this race.
Yeah, Peterborough not giving in. Looks like they're really trying to hang on to St. Catharines, really trying to give it to them, probably hoping that they've actually got Calgary pushing them.
Definitely, the two of them will pull each other down the course, and that's something St. Catharines has to watch for. Those two crews could try and push each other ahead and make up some of that lost real estate.
Starting to run out of time for that to happen, but it does look like Peterborough is pushing into St. Catharines. They're gonna have to. If it were me, certainly I would want to be responding, but it's challenging to get the response without overdoing it, without turning into a scrambled panic, which it looks like St. Catharines is able to do. They're able to put a response on without getting kind of over the top, so to speak.
And it looks like St. Catharines is going to make their way down for the club's first Henley medal of this year.
Of course, you can see on your screen the times. All of our results are going to be unofficial. Final results, official results, will be posted on the website later today. Up at the top here, seeing the crews starting to get into the gates for the next race. That's the under 19 women's coxed 4, event number 6.
This was an event, there were 56 entries, so about 280 athletes in this event, plus a wait list. So it started with 8 heats, only 2 boats from each heat made it on to the semis. They moved on to the 3 semis, and the top 2 survived to make it to the finals. So in this race on the left-hand side of your screen, in lane 2 is Westside out of Buffalo, lane 3 Dayton out of Ohio, lane 4 TBC out of Washington, D.C., lane 5 is PNRA/Mercer out of New Jersey, lane 6 Cambridge, and lane 7 TBC again.
We do have a pretty clean start here. If you're just joining us right now, you're seeing that it's 5:55, and you're seeing that the 4:08 race is happening. Well, there's been some thunderstorms that passed through earlier today, both in the morning and the afternoon. So what we've done, what the regatta organizers have done, they pulled everyone off the water, waited the storm out, what they're doing is we're racing all of today's finals, all of the Thursday finals. That's event 1 through 19. Those events are being raced, those finals are being raced today, this afternoon. All of the semifinals, that's from the under 19 men's double onward, those were removed and put into tomorrow's schedule.
So it looks like out to an early lead. TBC in lane 4. This is a boat that won the under 19 women's quad at US Club Nationals. They had the fastest qualifying time out of the semifinals, but you can see the boat there hugging the buoy lines just on the right-hand side of your screen. And we have that crosswind coming out of the west, which is going to give the Coxies a bit of a hard time. So they're going to want to stay a little bit closer to the middle to keep the umpires from warning them.
Yeah, you can see a number of the crews are struggling a little bit. Those starboard blades getting pushed into the buoy lines, especially at the junior level. You might find that not only are the Coxies going to struggle, but there might be just not quite the confidence or composure from the junior athletes. So you might find that they might be a little more prone to mistakes. Of course, that's not something we want to see or hope to see, but it's just something to be aware of, that you could get that little bit of panic, that little instinct in the back of the athlete's mind going, oh, I'm too close to the buoy, I'm too close to the buoy, and that could cause an unforced error, so to speak.
So again, TBC out to a slight lead. Princeton, or the PNRA Mercer boat in lane 5 seems to be challenging them the most. Not a lot of space between them as we hit the 500-meter mark. As you watch races with larger boats, it becomes more difficult to take a lead back once you've lost it.
On the screen right now, you're seeing the two athletes from St. Catharines Rowing Club stepping onto the podium. That's Ethan McAlpine and Alex Ustremski.
Two athletes who have raced each other quite a bit. Alex went to high school and raced for E.L. Crosley. Ethan raced out of Grimsby, winning the CSSRA senior men's single back-to-back years.
Mike, do you know who was helping with the trophy presentation right there?
That looks like Rick Cricker. If you mean the person beside him, that would be my lovely wife.
that is kind of who I was mentioning, but very exciting. Oh, yeah. And you know what? If we actually just look at the bow of the double that the athletes used, it is the Rick Cricker. So that's doubly exciting.
Yeah. One of the reasons why my wife was so excited about that win is she coached Ethan in his high school years when he won the single back-to-back.
Very exciting for the local coaches, clubs, athletes, spectators. Very exciting. Coming back here as we're approaching the 1,000-meter in the under 19 women's coxed 4, does look like Thompson Boat Club in lane 4 still in control. Not quite a dominant lead, but again, the last two races, certainly we've seen some distinct moves from leaders to take control of their race in this third 500 that we're approaching. So we'll see if that continues, or if someone else is able to actually move through the third 5 and take control of the race.
Well, and you see over in lane 7 is the other Thompson Boat Club. The two Thompson boats raced each other in semifinal number 2 with only 2 seconds between them. And then you have the Mercer boat just looking like there's a little bit of overlap on the lane 4 Thompson boat. So Mercer, they finished in the time of 7:29, about 5 seconds behind. See if they can do anything to close that gap as we head into the third 500 meters.
You can just see the stroke of the Mercer crew taking a couple looks. Not sure if that's going to be at her blade or at the other crews to her right. Hopefully at her blade. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt on that one. Looking pretty composed there in the leading crew out of lane 4 out of Thompson.
And now they've opened up a bit of a lead and gotten rid of the overlap that we saw earlier.
Just noticing that the Thompson Boat Club, the crew in the lead, they've got a starboard stroke. I think the default, so to speak, would typically be a port stroke. Mike, as an experienced coach, what would you look for in deciding between the starboard stroke rig and the port stroke rig?
I think it just depends on the athletes in the boat. Sometimes there's some athlete that has a solid sense of rhythm, and if he's starboard side, then you switch the rig to a starboard stroke. I don't think you see the coaches as married to the idea of it must be a port side stroke. We haven't seen any. This is the first coxed 4 race, but we haven't seen a tandem rig yet. Sometimes you'll see that in the 8s as well, where you have 2 athletes back to back rowing on the same side.
And that's not likely to change for the next few races. If you're looking at our schedule, the next race is the under 23 women's pair. After that, the men's single. After that, the under 17 women's double. And then another single. I think we're going to stick with some small boats today.
I think so. The athletes in this race, they're racing for the Kristen French Memorial Trophy. It was a trophy that was donated by the St. Catharines Rowing Club Masters Women to honor the memory of Kristen French, who was a high school athlete from Holy Cross, who was a victim of a homicide here. She was coached by Mike Thompson, who's been a longtime coach here in St. Catharines, and the trophy was created by Perry Wakalich. So that trophy's been in place since 2000, although the junior women's coxed 4 started in 1978, won by London Rowing Club, at a time when women were only allowed to race 1,000 meters. I believe it was 1985 when they were now racing at a 2,000 meter course, just the same as their male counterparts, as they should.
Yes. Interesting. At least for me, it's an interesting fact that you know what? I'll say it. I'll save it for when there's not a sprint to the line.
Yeah, that's a very congested finish area we have there. Again, Thompson in lane 4, not a lot of space between them in lane 5, 6, and 7. Mercer trying to close the gap. Doesn't look like there's going to be enough space for them to do that.
It's going to be Thompson's race. They've led really since the start line, and they're going to continue to cruise through the line. Again, all of our results posted here on the live stream are unofficial, but it looks to be a pretty decisive finish for the Thompson Boat Club out of lane 4. So that rowing history note I was going to touch on, the change of women's racing from 1,000 meters to 2,000 meters, all kind of tied up in, I guess, the legitimization of lightweight men's rowing as well. FISA at the time, that's the World Rowing Organization, in the early 80s had been petitioned to make lightweight rowing, make women's rowing a little more legitimate. And from my understanding, at least, it came down to this championship event that was going to be hosted in Montreal, in fact, where both the lightweight and women's programs were all going to be racing 2,000 meters. And the organizers of FISA basically said, if it's good, we'll think about it. And lo and behold, no surprise, really, with a modern understanding, still really exciting racing. Everyone had a great time, and progressions were made from then into the late 80s with, as you said, women starting to race 2,000 meters, and women's racing taking place over 2,000 meters at the Olympics, and lightweight racing happening at the Olympics.
Okay, we are here in the women's under 23 pair. On the left-hand side of your screen is Westside in lane 2, Westside in lane 3, and lane 4, Dons out of Toronto, lane 5, Minnesota, lane 6, Kingston, and lane 7, UVic.
The Don Rowing Club, both athletes raced at Junior Worlds in 2017 in the women's straight 4 and stroke. That's Amanda. She returned last year at Junior Worlds to place 5th in the women's pair.
And it looks like Dons has jumped out to an early lead in this event. This combo, they were also second in the women's pair at the 2016 Henley Regatta and also the National Rowing Championships. So the two athletes know each other well, and they know the boat well.
I find that's such a difference maker when you're rowing a pair. A pair with a phenomenal rowing partner, someone that understands how the boat moves, can make a huge difference. That boat is very, I think, responsive, given that there's only 2 athletes and there's only 1 oar each. When you're sculling, I find you're a little able to counterbalance because it's so symmetrical. With a pair with being completely asymmetrical, you've got to be on the same wavelength, and you have to really understand how the boat moves and how your partner moves. So it's a very challenging boat to row in my experience. But when you do get the partner that knows what they're doing, you're on the same wavelength, it can really take off.
Yeah, I think communication is the key in this event. You can't just try and do something on your own. If you decide that you want to really go for it and your partner's not on up to snuff, then the boat's not going to go straight. So it looks like, again, Dawn out in front. Kingston looks like they may have pushed into second. Kingston, Lauren Gadsden, and Kristen Edwards. Both of them are a part of Rowing Canada's 2019 Next Gen team, and they're going to be taking part in the Under 21 Trans-Tasman Series. So they're going to be heading overseas to take part in a regatta with New Zealand and Australia's Under 21 teams.
Yeah, this will be the second year that Canada sends athletes to the Trans-Tasman Regatta. I think it's a really exciting opportunity for the athletes, including, I don't know a better analogy to make, but like it's a Canamex for under 23 athletes. It's that development regatta. You still get the international experience. You still get the next kind of step up in caliber of racing and traveling as a team without it being a world championship event.
It is, and that was kind of something spearheaded by Chris Marshall, who's Row Ontario's high performance director, and it's kind of grown to include athletes from across Canada. New Zealand and Australia have found it to be quite beneficial in finding athletes who are going to make the jump to the under 23 and senior team. And there it looks like we can see this pair just struggling a little bit with the with their course. Looks like Minnesota,
I think that's
as they were hugging the buoy lines there, and now they might have made a slight overcorrection.
As we said, the pair can be a little challenging, and the conditions can be quite challenging right now, with the crosswind coming more or less straight across from the left side of your screen to the right side of your screen. You're seeing, even as we said, the Dawn athletes with more experience in the pair, they're still getting pushed over just a little more than I might be comfortable with, and just hugging that starboard side buoy line just a little bit.
Again, the course correction we saw them make was very slight.
On the podium right now, your winners of the women's under 19 coxed 4, that's the Thompson Boat Club. The under 23 women's pair, that's the race in progress. They're going to be racing for the Alex Greenhill Trophy. Alex Sandy Greenhill Memorial Trophy. So Alex was a charter member of the St. Catharines Rowing Club Old Boys Association, which is actually now known as the St. Catharines Alumni Association. Last year, this event was won by Big City, so that was Piper Battersby and Antonia Frappel. Oh, sorry, yeah, you're right. That's University of Victoria.
Don't want to get Albert upset.
Oh no, that would not go over well. Sorry, Albert. The year before, won by University of British Columbia, so it's looks to be new champions this year, and likely not from the West Coast this year.
No, it looks like Dawn's are in control, and Dawn won this event when it was first held in 1998, as rowing events started to make the switch from intermediate senior to age-based. So that was when it was used to be called Senior B, which was under 23. Now we just go by under 23.
Yeah, it really looks to be between Dawn and the Kingston Rowing Club.
Yeah, and we still see Minnesota struggling a little bit with their course, starting to move back into their lane. It looked like they might have been in Kingston's lane a little bit there. Not sure from the angle how much ground Kingston has made up.
Yeah, it looks still to be Dawn, tough from the angle, but I think it's Dawn maybe by half a boat, up to a boat. I'm sure the athletes racing for Kingston, that's Kirsten and Lauren, they're going to be pushing, trying to empty the tank as they come into the red buoys, trying to step on it a little bit. Interesting to see how this finishes. Seeing a bit of a move out of Kingston, and I think Dawn is responding.
There's about 200 meters left in this race. So Kingston has started to bring the stroke rate up to try and close the ground.
They're going to have to make another move, find that next gear.
I think, Don, they were rowing at a fairly low stroke rate, so they do have enough room to bring that rate up if they need to. But it
Yeah.
looks like they're still going to be quite comfortable crossing the line
Yeah,
with Kingston
that's a
coming
really
in second.
decisive move to kind of put the icing on the cake, so to speak. Really excited. Stroke seat, I believe that's Amanda. Great race between those two crews. And looks like third is going to go to, is that Minnesota?
I think West Side.
Yeah, I think it was Minnesota. And as it says on the screen,
sorry, yeah.
these are the unofficial results. Official results will be available on the henleyregatta.ca website later today. So unofficial Don Rowing Club over Kingston, Minnesota, West Side, and University of Victoria. The race underway right now. That's event number 8, the men's senior single. In lane 1, that's University of Victoria. That's Saul Garcia. In lane 2, OKC High Performance Center, Zachary Petronich. Lane 4, Cambridge Boat Club, Jonathan Smith. Lane 5, North Bay Rowing Club. In lane 6, Craftsbury. And lane 7, Vesper. Saul in lane 1, he raced for Mexico earlier in the decade and was training in kind of the middle of the decade for a little while with the Canadian national team as a lightweight sculler.
I believe he raced for Canada the 2015 Pan Am Games that were held here in St. Catharines.
That is correct.
He also holds an MBA in sports marketing.
I definitely didn't know that fact. The athlete out of North Bay, he actually hails from Tehran, Iran. He has moved to Canada to study a master's in science and kinesiology. In 2017, he had a bronze medal at the Asian Rowing Championships in the men's single. And I believe that's the athlete you see on your screen right now.
Yeah, Kashea Abbasabad.
Really exciting. It's something you don't, I think, see too often is international students, international athletes coming to Canada to study. I find it's usually the other way around.
Yes. Rowing at a much higher rate than I think you would see a lot of athletes rowing in a single this early in the race. But he did come into the final with the second fastest time out of the semifinals. Jonathan Smith in lane 4 from Cambridge, he finished first in his semi of a time of 7:16. Out of North Bay, Kashaya finished 7:20, and then we also had Zach Petronich out of Oklahoma City, also in a time of 7:20. So you have 3 athletes that are quite close in time with each other.
Yeah, and Zach in lane 3, he has a little bit of international pedigree as well. So he's a University of Pittsburgh grad and raced for the American squad at the World University Games. That's the FISU event in 2013.
There's a shot of Andrew Rado out of Craftsbury, also part of their green project. He won the 2018 Crash B Championships, the Indoor Ergometer Championships, with a time of 5:54. He's currently a student at University of Massachusetts Lowell, focusing on aerodynamics. A very nice blade work out of lane 6 in Craftsbury.
On the screen right now, that's the Don Rowing Club athletes receiving their Henley gold medals for the under 23 women's pair event. When we get to the final of the senior men's single, those athletes, so that's the race in progress right now, those athletes are currently racing for the Jack Guest Memorial Trophy, named for Jack Guest, who began rowing in 1924 at the Argonaut Rowing Club. He would go on to win a silver medal in the men's double at the 1928 Olympic Games, as well as the Diamond Sculls at the Royal Henley Regatta. He's only one of 3 Canadians to ever win that event. He was described by Guy Nichols, who is a notable British rower, as, quote, the most perfect sculler I have ever seen, end quote. So he must have been okay. That looks to be, I think, Luke Rain from Vesper in the lead right now of the senior men's single race.
Well, Luke Rain, he won the 2017 Head of the Charles in the men's club single and set a record that was 20 years old. So he raced this event last year, finishing 6th.
Yeah, and it is still a tight field, but when the athletes came past our camera angle there at about the 1250 mark, he was in control by about a boat length, maybe a little bit of open. So in a single, certainly a senior single event, that's not a lot to give, but it is enough that he has distinguished himself so far in the third 500. We'll see if he's going to be able to hang on. It looks like he might have made another move. It's always tough to tell from the farther camera angles, but Luke Rain looks to be in control, rowing for Vesper Rowing Club right now in lane 7 on the far left of your screen.
He's there. I don't think Jonathan Smith out of Cambridge is giving him a lot of space to get away. Oklahoma City seemed to be in the mix as well.
This event, the last few years, pretty strong contenders. Last year, won by Graham Peters out of Peterborough. The year before that, Josh King representing Ottawa Rowing Club. Josh King 2 summers ago on a tear. I think he left the regatta with 4, 5. Is a considerable number of Henley golds. Won the senior men's single, as I said, as a lightweight. Won the senior lightweight men's single. I'm pretty sure he won the champ single that summer. Just really incredible performance. Graham Peters, he's been floating around the senior level, under 23 level, club level, back and forth. Raced this week, really, at the Pan Am Games for Canada in the men's double. Right now, it looks to be Luke Rain's race under control as he's coming into the red buoys with a fair bit of poise. Some really clean, smooth strokes right now.
Yeah, very efficient sculling. Well, that's quite considerable to have that much of a lead in the senior men's single over a very accomplished field.
Wow. That's certainly one of the more decisive finishes we've seen so far. So unofficially, it is Luke Rain from the Vesper Boat Club taking home event number 8. That's the senior men's single. Coming up next, we're going to have the women's under 19 double. So in lane 1, that's going to be St. Catharines. Lane 2, White Marsh. Lane 3, Guelph. Sorry, I've got those off a lane. So that's lane 2, St. Catharines. Lane 3, White Marsh. Lane 4, Guelph. Lane 5, Argonaut. Lane 6, Ottawa. And lane 7, St. Stithians. That's a crew I've never called before at this regatta.
No, really from Johannesburg, South Africa. So they're about 6 hours ahead of us. So hello to anyone in Johannesburg that's watching us well past midnight. It's great Thursday night viewing there, I'm sure.
Or would that be Friday morning then?
Depends how good the night was.
Again, if you are just joining us, this is the 4:38 originally scheduled event number 9, the women's under 17 double. There's been thunderstorms all throughout the day here in St. Catharines, Ontario, so the schedule's been a little bit in flux. We're getting through all of the finals this evening. What they've done is taken some of the semifinals that were meant to be raced this afternoon, everything from the under 19 men's double through to, I believe it was an under 17 women's quad. Those semifinals have been moved to tomorrow's schedule as they regatta organizers wanted to get through today's finals more or less as scheduled, just with about an hour and a half delay from the original schedule.
So up in the top left of your screen, there is St. Stithians. We have Shelby Showman and Jenna Markaff. Jenna won the best junior athlete at St. Stithians this year, and Shelby won the best senior rower at the school as well. Jenna raced at the 2015 South African School Champs, winning the under 15 women's quad and came third in the under 15 women's single. Beside them, we have out of Ottawa, Zella James and Madeline Lorio. Zella was fifth in the junior coxed four, junior women's coxed four, the 2018 CSSRA championships. And beside them on the right of your screen from Argonauts, there's Rebecca Randall and Claire Graham. Rebecca raced in the junior women's single and came fifth at CSSRAs. Claire was second in the junior women's double at CSSRAs. And Claire also moved up and raced in the senior women's 63 kilo double and came fourth at CSSRAs. So these athletes are all under 17 years old, first or second year rowing club for most of them. And this is going to be their first Henley final in many cases. You can see the wind picking up slightly as the younger athletes are trying to deal with that crosswind, and they're getting pushed over into the buoys a little bit. You can see on the right-hand side, Ottawa's sculls getting a little close to the buoy line.
It does look, as you said, to be Ottawa, but certainly not taking the race decisively, not yet at least. We are approaching the 1,000-meter. Going to be interesting to see how this plays out. The women's under 17 double, so some of the youngest athletes really from the regatta, certainly the youngest age category. But if they're in a double, must have some trust from their coaches. They've made it to the final, doing everything right, really.
Did a lot of these athletes race this spring at this Canadian High School Championship, CSSRAs. In the Grimsby boat, you have Grace Weaver, sorry, in the St. Catharines boat, Grace Weaver, who went to Grimsby. She was second in the junior women's double. Her partner, Meredith, won the junior quad and junior double for E.L. Crosley at CSSRAs.
I think, sorry, go ahead. One thing that is really exciting to see is Ottawa in a competitive position right now. There weren't any Ottawa schools at the CSSRAs this year. The extreme flooding that happened really throughout Ontario prevented certainly the Ottawa Rowing Club and I think a number of really anyone east of southern Ontario. They really struggled to get onto the water this year due to all of the flooding. So exciting to see not only Ottawa Rowing Club and some of the other clubs back here in St. Catharines for a championship event, but some of their crews already on the first day of finals in a competitive position.
I believe Brockville Rowing Club helped Ottawa out a bit in the spring, and weekends the Ottawa athletes would drive down to Brockville to race.
Looks to be, I think, Stithians.
Yeah, it looks like St. Stithians.
But they're being pushed by Guelph. Looks to be Guelph as well. Fighting with St. Stithians for the lead right now in the under 17 women's double as we're approaching the final 500.
The two girls in the Guelph boat, Christina Harris and Ellie Tenenhus, they raced each other at CSSRAs. Ellie won the junior women's single. Christina was third in the junior women's single.
That's one of the things I really love about club rowing is you race as different schools throughout the spring season. Certainly the Canadian system where you tend to have a couple schools in a city. You race against each other all spring. You go to St. Catharines or you're in St. Catharines. You go to the championship. You race each other. Maybe you both come home with medals. You have a battle down the course. A couple weeks later, you've had a little bit of a break. You come together, you get in a boat, you set your eyes on Henley, and you try and make that boat go as fast as you can.
Wow, it looks like St. Stithians has made a nice move in the second five. this is quite impressive as they make their finals debut at the Royal Canadian Henley Regatta.
Really exciting to see those crews, those two athletes right now, the first ones to show up in the finals at the Royal Canadian Henley from St. Stithians from South Africa and making a statement.
Yeah, there was an article earlier this week speaking with Regatta Chair Peter Scott. And he was saying that there are a few other schools in South Africa that are interested in coming, and St. Stithians is basically the trial balloon to see how it goes for them.
That's really exciting.
Looking very comfortable, the two athletes, Shelby and Jenna from St. Stithians, as they're dealing with the crosswind. They're over in lane 7. So far, the winds today have come from lanes 4 or 5.
They're moving that double quite nicely. It's running pretty smooth stroke to stroke. Not seeing a lot of slowdown. Really well rowed by those two athletes.
Yeah, that's very nice. South Africa's rowing program, if you look at their senior national team, they've done very well, particularly on the lightweight men's side, winning gold in the light men's 4 in London. And it looks like St. Stithians is going to finish this race here and come home with their first ever Canadian Henley gold.
Very exciting. And even, in the Rio Regatta, South Africa put together a men's pair, which I'm sure many athletes going into Rio were thinking, men's pair, I don't even want to look at it.
Yeah.
Kiwis don't want to consider it, but South Africa put together a pair, came second, came silver from the Rio Olympic Regatta,
Wow.
making sure that they were the next ones after the Kiwis. I'm sure they would have liked to take them on. I'm sure they threw everything they had at them, but coming second in Rio, that's a huge accomplishment.
Well, congratulations to St. Stithians, Shelby Showman, Jenna Markaff, and their coach James Buchanan.
Right now, we've got the under 23 lightweight men's single. That's event number 10. Lane 1, we've got University Victoria. Sorry, again, that's lane 2. Lane 2, University Victoria. Lane 3, Montreal. Lane 4, Dawn Rowing Club. Lane 5, St. Catharines. Lane 6, Riverside. And lane 7, Boundary. So for any lightweight events, what these athletes as male lightweights, what they will have had to do was this morning weigh in at 72.5 kilograms or less. They'll have to do that every single day that they're racing. So this event, they progressed from heats to semis, final here. So that means the last 3 days, including today, they will have had to wake up, and sometime between, I'm not sure what the weigh-in times were, I'm going to guess between, let's say, 6 and 9 a.m., they will have had to come upstairs to the weigh-in room, step in their uniform at 72.5 kilograms or fewer every single day.
Looks like that shot in front of us there. Dawn was out to a slightly early lead. Connor Newell, coached by Horatio Tendillo. Horatio's done a really nice job bringing up the program at Dawn's. Last couple of years, seen some considerable success at the junior level, and those athletes are now sticking around and continuing to race at the senior level for Dawn's.
Shot there of Connor, as you said. Some pretty clean strokes. Not letting himself get moved around. As we've seen some of the crews, certainly the small boats, some of them have struggled a little bit in the crosswind. Connor's approaching, looks to be the 750 meter, and that theoretically would be the worst spot given this westerly crosswind, and he looks super calm, very poised, not getting blown around at all.
There you see the St. Stithians U17 women's double coming into the grandstands for their medal presentation.
Yeah, they'll be receiving the St. Andrew's United Church 150th Anniversary Cup. St. Andrew's Church, it's just a short walk from the grandstand. The building we see today was actually built in 1894, but the congregation was first formed in 1852. So the trophy was donated by the Mackay family to commemorate the church's 150th anniversary. Very exciting for St. Stithians to be receiving their first Henley gold medals. When the under 23 lightweight men's single final is complete, that is the event in progress. Right now they're racing for the Theo Dubois Trophy. Theo was an outstanding junior oarsman from Winnipeg. In his heyday, which I have listed as 1931 to 1955, he would win more races at the Northwestern Regatta in Winnipeg than any other oarsman. In 1941, he was named Canada's Outstanding Athlete of the Year. He was active in the Winnipeg Rowing Club as a longtime member and coach. Theo was inducted to the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame in 1981.
There's another shot of Connor Newell rowing quite comfortably, seems to be handling the wind well. You don't see the boat pitching from side to side. Looks like pushing him on the right is Johan May out of St. Catharines. On the left, Chris Rusin, rowing for University of Victoria, originally from E.L. Crosley in Fond Hill, where he rowed in high school.
Johan, the St. Catharines athlete on your screen right now, just not sure if that's a pain face or just breathing with a bit of a smile. Maybe he's really enjoying himself, Mike.
Johan last fall took some time off, was over in Europe and was training with some clubs in France.
It's a really cool opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like right now it's paying off as he's coming down. Is this, I think, his first year out of junior and into the U23? And he's got himself an inside lane, so that's really exciting.
Yeah, Johan rode the lightweight single throughout high school for Sir Winston Churchill. Was always a threat and someone in the mix, and he's not letting Connor get away from him at all. So we're going to see what Johan can do as we head into the bottom five. But it looks like Johan is starting to bring the rate up. Connor hasn't brought the rate up. Johan's rowing a little bit higher, seeing if he can crack through him at this point in the race.
And this, I think, is something we haven't seen a lot of yet today, is athletes, and even the Riverside athlete, looking like he's trying to keep with Johan as he makes his move. Really, the left side of your screen, I think they've kind of pulled into a point where there's not much to give. I might even put my money on Riverside at the moment. But this is something we haven't quite seen, is people challenging in the bottom 500, challenging the leader, making a move, making a push through another crew. We haven't really seen anyone break yet, or at least not able to break a leader.
No, they're now in the red buoys. There's about 200 meters to go left in the race. And you can see Riverside, Michael Landau looked over. He's really brought the rate up.
He's, I think, well clear of Johan at this point.
I think he has broken past Johan. Not sure where he is in relation to Connor.
Oh, looks like quite the battle. Stroke for stroke, we're going to see if there's either more of a move or if Michael's going to be able to break Connor, if Connor can quite hang on. I don't know how to call that, Mike.
Wow.
Wow.
We'll leave that one up to the judges in the finish tower.
Perhaps the first time where it's been particularly relevant, our results will be unofficial. So what you see on our screen, what we're showing is Riverside Boat Club with the win in the under 23 lightweight men's single. Now it's showing the Don Rowing Club. These results are unofficial. Official results will be posted to henleyregatta.ca later today. Our results are unofficial. That's easily the most exciting, certainly the closest race we've seen all day.
Yeah, great late move by Riverside and an impressive row from Johan for being first year under 23 eligible.
Yeah, it's always exciting when you can have an athlete kind of in the first year of the step up, so to speak, to the next category, respond and put themselves competitively into a new event. This is the start of the women's senior lightweight double in lane 2, Club Hispania, lane 3, St. Catharines, lane 4, Vesper, lane 5, another Club Hispania, lane 6, Riverside, and lane 7, Ottawa. So again, another small boat. We've got a number of those events today. Another senior crew. Again, we've had a lot of those today. And another lightweight event. So for these athletes, they're female scullers, female lightweights. As I was saying, yeah. Earlier with the last race, the under 23 lightweight men's single. So these athletes have to weigh in every single day that they race. There's going to be a weigh-in window every morning. I think typically it's between 6 and 7 for the start time and between 9 and 10 for the close. They have that window of time where they have to come up into the weigh-in room in one of the buildings here on the St. Catharines Run Club compound, the Henley Island compound, come upstairs to the weigh-in room, and they have to weigh in for the women, like we're seeing in this race, below 59 kilos. 59 kilos or less.
Yeah, a little bit different than international racing. Internationally, lightweight athletes have a window of 1 to 2 hours before their scheduled race time to weigh in. Here, because athletes in many cases, are racing in multiple events, it's not really feasible. So there is that window. They do weigh in once a day, and that will carry them through the day.
Exciting here. It looks to be...
It's like Hispania and Vesper.
I think so. Yeah, that's Vesper there, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Looking pretty clean. You can just tell from the way our camera is moving, there is that crosswind we've talked about from the left side of your screen to the right. And the athletes, as they're approaching the second 500 meters, that's where the wind is likely going to be worse. That's where it's got the most amount of room to pick up and really make things a little challenging for the athletes coming across the line. But in a senior event, a senior small boat, the athletes should be able, having gotten themselves this far into the final, should be in a position where they can handle those conditions without getting pushed one way or the other. And you can see the athletes on the screen, Club Hispania and Vesper, that we've seen the last 30 seconds or so, they've been able to really stay right in the middle of their lanes, not get pushed one way or the other, despite those challenging conditions. Now the athletes coming, the leaders coming to the 1,000-meter mark. Does look to be Vesper leading the pack at the moment in the senior lightweight women's double. The Vesper athletes of Alana Fogarty and Lauren Click. Alana Fogarty, a longtime Ottawa athlete. But actually, that's Club Hispania that I was looking at, calling them Vesper. Vesper definitely in the race, but Club Hispania, that's Luisa Fernandez and Alexa Lopez. Controlling the race at the moment, certainly with the race halfway through. Just looking at the blade work here from Hispania, I really like the way they're stepping out together. It's a pretty clean, not seeing any water being brought up by those oars as they step out of the water. Really nice sculling from those athletes.
Yeah, Riverside's just tracking a little bit behind them. You have Elizabeth Martin and Michaela Carr-Warner not letting any of the boats get away. It looks like there's 3 boats, a little bit of overlap between Riverside and Vesper on Hispania.
Yeah.
Very tight racing through the third 500 meters. Again, it's going to depend on how much Hispania is having to work at this point just to stay ahead. You're going to have Vesper pushing them, so they have to respond to moves from both sides, which can take its toll on the athletes.
And it could actually make things quite exciting and accessible, I guess, to Riverside and Vesper, as both of them kind of work and edge at Hispania. It's one thing to hold off a crew as they're trying to push into you, but even as we saw in the last race, as St. Catharines and Riverside kind of pushed each other to the point where they were challenging Dawn, it was then Riverside that was, I mean, I don't know the official result. It was the closest race we've seen. It was certainly a showdown at the final, and we've got Dawn I guess on
Yeah.
on the podium on your screen right now. So Connor Newell able to hold off the late charge from Riverside, who was helped along as Johan May from St. Catharines pushed into him. So Connor Newell looks to have taken the men's under 23 lightweight single for the Don Rowing Club, and we'll see if Riverside or Vesper can put themselves in a position where they're not allowing Hispania to control this race for the full 2,000 meters.
Yeah, there's Connor just getting his picture taken by Stan Lipinski, who's been a long-time photographer here. If you go to Stan's website, he actually has the history behind all of the trophies that are being handed out today, along with the winners of these races. So he's archived it going all the way back to 1880.
From the shot here from the island, looks to be Club. That's the Ottawa Rowing Club. I think that was the back of the pack, in fact. On your screen right now, that's the event 12, under 19 men's coxed 4. They're getting in the gates, getting ready for their race. If you are just joining us, that would be the 508 race that's currently in the gates. We're currently following the race in progress. That's the 458 race. There's been some thunderstorms, so the schedule has been pushed back an hour and a half. And regatta organizers and umpires, volunteers across the board doing their best to make sure athletes are safe and that the races are getting completed. Riverside just having been pushed over, I think, a little bit to their starboard side, rowing over the buoys. That's where the crosswind's going, but they're storming to the line. Curious to see where they are relative to Hispania and Vesper, but looks to be Vesper showdown. So they did both crews work through Club Hispania. Wow.
So it looks like Philadelphia, Boston final as we head into the last 10 strokes of the race. Vesper trying to close the gap with Riverside. So we head to the line on the search. It looks like Vesper.
I think Vesper. I think you're right. Maybe not quite as close as the last race, but we've now had 2 races neck and neck, bow ball to bow ball at the line. Again, our results on the screen are unofficial. Unofficial times on the screen. Official times will be posted with their results at the henleyregatta.ca website later today. Unofficially, it's the Vesper Boat Club over Riverside Boat Club. Both crews trailed Club Hispania for about 1,800 meters, and then that was really our first lead change of the evening.
It was.
Off to a start now, though, the men's under 19 coxed 4. This is event 12. In lane 2, that's Hawk Rowing. That's the club, as far as I can tell, it's the St. Joseph's Prep School summer rowing program. Lane 3, Community Rowing Incorporated. Lane 4, PNRA/Mercer. Lane 5, that's Community Rowing again, CRI. Lane 6, Fairmount. And lane 7, PNRA/Mercer again. So we've got 2 crews from CRI, 2 crews from Lake Mercer. Should be, I mean, it is an American showdown, and we'll see certainly Hawk and Fairmont. Those are both crews from Philadelphia. So a lot of these crews are going to be very familiar with each other.
They will. Community, 4 of the last 5 years have won this event. Last year's winner, St. Catharines, didn't make it to the finals. You mentioned Hawk Rowing, the St. Joe's Prep out of Philadelphia. They were over across the pond at the Henley Royal Regatta, making it to the quarterfinals. And again, from the inside, it looks like Hawk Rowing has jumped out to a slight lead. Not a lot separating the boats at this point in the race.
Yeah, I think it was in the semifinals, Mike. I don't know if you have the results handy, but the semifinals and the heats for this event were super tight. It happened to be in the grandstands to watch some of the racing, and some of them were as close as, well, the last 2 finals that we saw come down, where I wouldn't have been able to call it. Looks right now to be PNRA Mercer, lane 3, I believe. Lane 4, off to a bit of a lead, but that wasn't with Hawk Rowing on the screen, so I'm not sure. Could also be CRI lane 3. It's tight. It's tight as they're coming through about the 600-meter mark of this 2,000-meter race.
And I think as you head through the race, this is where you're going to start to see different strategies play out. I think in a race like this at the 500-meter mark, you don't need to be ahead in the race, just don't be behind, and then you give yourself a better chance to make moves later on in the race. Some crews will throw too much into that first 5 and then pay for it later. One of the challenges too with the crosswind is there really isn't anything you can do in terms of rigging. You can't change the inboard on the oar, the length of the oar. You just have to deal with it. Now, these guys have a coxswain to help them with that. Most of the boats we've seen have been singles, pairs, doubles. So the athletes are responsible for it. And this one, you have a coxswain who's going to help them out with the steering. So hopefully no one should be riding the buoy lines in this race.
Yeah, looks like still very tight racing, certainly across the left side of the course. That's PNRA Mercer, Fairmont, and CRI Lane 5. CRI, that crew, I think the 2 4s combined, from what I could tell, won the under-19 men's 8 at the U.S. National Championships a couple weeks ago.
Okay, and there on the left-hand side of your screen, we have Hawk Rowing in lane 2, and beside them, the CRI boat in lane 3.
Looks to be Vesper is the ones that have taken home the senior women's lightweight double. Really exciting for those athletes. That was such a close race. Well done.
And it looks like this coxed 4 is going to be our 3rd tight race in a row.
Always very exciting. Royal Canadian Henley does not disappoint when it comes to finals and sometimes the heats as well. Some really close racing here between lane 5, CRI, and Hawk Rowing.
I think so.
The St. Joe's crew, though, off to looked like maybe half a boat. And maybe making a move as they're coming past the island.
CRI isn't letting them get away. They're going to try and track, and the coxswain's going to want to try and make sure that CRI maintains some overlap so that their bow ball is still in contact roughly with the Hawk stern.
Yeah, you can really see the CRI athletes giving it. Strokeseed's got his head down a little bit, taking a look over, just seeing how far behind are they. Can he still see them? Head goes back down. He's really putting work in, really setting a rhythm for his crew as they're trying to lead, trying to close that gap and just get back in with the athletes from St. Joe's from Hawk Rowing.
Yeah, still about 500 meters to go. The athletes are coming up to the 1,500 meter pylon. You said CRI lane 5 and Hawk Rowing over in lane 2. So one of the challenges too is that they're not right beside each other in the lane. So they really need to rely on their coxswains to let them know where they are in relation to the other boats, particularly Hawk being over by themselves with the CRI in lane 2 being back just a little bit.
It can be a little challenging when you're off on the outside lane, lane 2 or lane 8, because when you do get seated, typically what you'll see is the fastest crews on the inside of the lanes, maybe 4, 5, 6. So being in an outside lane, trying to push and challenge for that first place position can be tough. It can be tough not having the slap of the oars in the lane next to you and that kind of immediate understanding. The athletes really having to rely on their coxswain.
Now, this was one of the events that got split up on Tuesday with the thunderstorms we had. So some of the heats were run on Tuesday, some were run on Wednesday. So some of these athletes had to race the heat in the morning Wednesday and then jump into the semifinal Wednesday afternoon. Others had heat Tuesday and semifinal Wednesday. CRI looking to see if they can return this trophy back to their possession. And last year St. Catharines won it, but the previous 4 years CRI had won it.
And it looks to be going back to Boston.
Yeah, CRI won that close finish with Hawk in second, and then a tight battle for third between PNR Mercer and the other CRI boat.
Really exciting. Again, we've had a couple close races, a couple competitive races, and Mike, thanks for joining me.
No problem. See you tomorrow.
Have a good one. in the gates right now, so that was the under 19 men's coxed 4 being won by CRI lane 5. In the gates, we've got the senior women's 8 just getting lined up, making sure the bows are aligned, crews are straight. My partner here, Mike Petrochenko, he's stepping out for the evening, and I'm now going to be joined by
Katie Brugling. Hey Brent, how are you doing?
Not too bad, Katie. How are you? Welcome back.
Thanks.
So, Katie, what are you excited to see here out of the women's 8? I know you're a previous coxie in your competitive years. So, what most sets the 8 apart for you?
Just having a good close race and trying to see who can create the best rhythm and work together as a 9.
As a 9, well said. Of course, the coxie's going to call it a 9. My apologies, of course. A couple of races with Katie back in our club days. Locals here in St. Catharines. It's going to be an exciting race here. The senior women's 8. So we've got in lane 2 Flower City, lane 3 Riverside, lane 4 Calgary Rowing Club, lane 5 University of British Columbia, lane 6 St. Catharines, lane 7 Calgary Rowing Club. Calgary has won this event in 2016, 2017. Last year was taken in 2018 by the Vesper Rowing Club. Calgary now with 2 crews in the final, stepping up their game. Calgary in lane 4 and UBC both decisively won their heats for this event a couple days ago. Going to be exciting to see how that goes. The Calgary crew just being pushed over. There is a bit of a wind from the left side of your screen to the right side of your screen. Calgary having their starboard blades might have overlapped a little bit on that buoy line between them and UBC. UBC had managed to keep a pretty straight course, but you can just see the Calgary crew getting pushed around a little bit, so they'll have the umpire giving them some instructions to get them back on course.
Yes, it's always challenging to steer in a crosswind. So all the crews have established a good rhythm. As you can see, the wind is trying to push them over to starboard, and it's really important to keep focused internally, let the coxie handle the steering, and just keep establishing and laying down your rhythm.
Yeah, and here in the shot right now, you can see the coxie, Alex Birkinshaw. She's the coxie at University of British Columbia, just looking to her right, checking where St. Catharines and Calgary are, making sure she's got a good line, looks to be really steady in the middle of her lane. That's really well done. Not too surprising, Alex was on the under-21 program last summer. They went to the Trans-Tasman Regatta.
So it looks like a good race. We have Calgary, St. Catharines, and UBC in our shot right now. Really good race in between St. Catharines and UBC.
Yeah, that St. Catharines crew, decent pedigree in that crew. You've got Stroke and Sid Boyens. She's got a couple of Canadian representation summers under her belt. 2011, I believe, she raced under 23 World Championships in the lightweight women's double. In 2016, she raced at Senior Worlds, the non-Olympic Worlds event, in the lightweight women's quad. They are, of course, coached by Kathy Boyes. That's Sid's mother. Kathy Boyes lived in St. Catharines, has coached in St. Catharines as long as I've been down here on the island. Kathy herself, an Olympic oarswoman, phenomenal competitor, and she'll have trained these women to a really high degree.
Yes. So it looks like UBC is out in front, taking a commanding lead. Of course, we can't see everything on the screen, but looks like they are a length up on St. Catharines and on Calgary.
Really impressive. As we said, Calgary, phenomenal senior women's program in the last 5 or 6 years. They've been tremendously successful here at Canadian Henley. They've sent crews over to the Henley Royal Regatta. They've got a number of athletes that are currently on the senior women's national team squad. In fact, one of them, Jessie Lutti, she raced at Pan Am's this week with another kind of prairie athlete, Larissa Verbicki. They raced the women's pair today at Pan Am's, came home with a silver medal.
Wow. That's
But
awesome.
right now, it looks like UBC's race to win right now. But on your screen at the moment, that'll be the CRI crew, Community Rowing Incorporated, men's under 19 coxed sport. They're going to be getting their trophy. That's the W.A. Al Ward Trophy. The senior women, that's the 8 race that's in progress right now. They're racing for the Henley Island Helper President's Cup. Now, that was the first trophy for a women's crew event at the Canadian Henley, and it was dedicated in 1978. With CRI just standing on the dock, I wonder if they're just waiting for their race to be official. Could very well be the case that they've not been invited up as they wait for an official time. We won't have official times here on the screen. Those will be posted to henleyregatta.ca. But the senior women's 8 in progress looks to be UBC's race. Calgary trying to chase them down. As I mentioned, Calgary, some kind of graduate, so to speak, of that senior women's program. They've got 5 athletes by my count that have raced for Canada this year alone. But UBC certainly no slouches. Even their coach. So this summer, this 8's been coached by Zoe Fettig-Wynn. She's the UBC women's assistant coach to Craig Pond. He's kind of the head coach. Zoe's been coaching them this summer. Even she's got a bit of international pedigree. In 2014, she went to the under-23 World Championships in the women's straight 4, coming home with a bronze medal. And she's certainly been drilling that UBC crew to a super high standard, which maybe no surprise is why the UBC program is always, certainly the last few years, been in contention for the points championship at the Canadian University Rowing Championships.
All right, and here they come down to the line. It's UBC leading the pack as they begin to build their rate and power in that last 100 or so meters.
And they're not leaving anything out there. This is a really decisive crew. I was talking to one of them the other day after their heats. They were aware of the weather conditions, the fact that the thunderstorms had been coming. The reason they sprinted to the line during their heat, even though they were in control, they were worried perhaps races might get canceled or further delayed and they might have to go off heat times. So these are some pretty disciplined senior athletes that have just won the senior women's 8 for the University of British Columbia.
Congratulations, UBC. So in second, we have Calgary, and then a tight finish between St. Catharines and Riverside.
So again, that's the unofficial times on your screen. University of British Columbia over the Calgary Rowing Club by about 9 seconds, followed by Flower City, the rest of them are just by lane. It'll be Riverside behind Calgary, then St. Catharines, Flower City, and Calgary, lane 7. So it'll be the UBC women in a couple moments taking home the Henley Island Helper President's Cup.
So now we're looking at the start of the under 17 men's quad. In lane 1, we have Crescent, or lane 2, I should say. Lane 3, Notre Dame. Lane 4, Dawn. Lane 5, Thunder. Lane 6, Conshohocken. And lane 7, Setahunas.
That's St. Stithians, Katie. So they're the South African crew.
Oh, wow.
You won't be familiar as this is their first time here at Canadian Henley.
Oh, welcome to Canada.
Yeah, they won I believe it was the under 17 women's double.
Wow.
Maybe 20 or 30 minutes ago. So here they are again with an outside lane, which didn't hinder their under 17 women's double. They won from the outside lane, so they'll be challenging right now some of the other crews. So certainly the Dawn Rowing Club, they won this event last year and the year before, coached by Horatio. Horatio, he's been at Dawn for a few years now, consistently developing really competitive crews. Their junior crew is doing quite well. Came home with an under 23 win in the women's pair earlier today. So not only are they developing those athletes through the junior programming, but now they're starting to come back in their senior years. You got Conshohocken, they're always a competitive club, certainly in the quad events. St. Stithians, they've made a great statement, certainly in their first race so far in the finals. Thunder Crew. They're the team out of lane 5. Full disclosure, that's where I coach
Nice.
at that boathouse. One of the athletes, stroke seat Frank Luo, I coach him through the school year at St. George's School. The other athletes, I kind of help out as a coach there, but really the head coach, Vince Amodio, local here, Blessed Trinity athlete, St. Catharines athlete. He's drilled these guys to a pretty high standard. They've got 8 athletes here from Thunder. They've never come to Canadian Henley before. Under 19 quad, under 17 quad. We'll see what they can put together today.
Mm-hmm.
Looks to be the Dawn Rowing Club rowing quite cleanly right now.
Yes.
Bousy just taking a look to his left, to his right, seeing where the other crews are, checking on Notre Dame and Crescent, towards the island. Thunder, Conshohocken, and St. Stithians on the other side. And he'll just be letting his teammates know where they're standing as they're coming through this second 500.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like they have a good rhythm, keeping the rate relatively high and aggressive. You can see Bousy looking from side to side. He really is doing a good job of keeping an eye on the whole field.
And you can see why. Not much to give. Crescent out ahead a little bit. Notre Dame right in there with Dawn Rowing Club.
Mm-hmm.
Crescent from Philadelphia, you can just see there, Bousy took a look over. So he's doing the same thing. He's making sure his teammates know how they're standing, where they're sitting as they're going to be approaching the halfway point of this race, the 1,000-meter mark of this race. Maybe right now at the 900, just letting his teammates know, here's where we sit. Here's where Thunder is. Here's where Conshohocken is. Does look on this shot right now to be the Thunder crew in lane 5, being led by Frank Luo. That's Jackson Bailey in 3, Elijah Brown in lane 2, Rowan Conwall in bow seat. But certainly not much to give between them and Conshohocken. That's stroke Matthew Davis, Bryson Bernhardt, Kevin Connell, and Daniel Ward. But Crescent in the lane 1, Chad Noyes, Noel Roberts, Matthew Neck, and Peter Gray. Really exciting racing here in the under 17 men's quad.
Yes, this is definitely tight. So we're passing through the 1250, and it is all within a length for at least 4 crews here.
Yeah, looking like Crescent by half a boat, maybe a little less. And then Thunder, who's got about half a boat on Conshohocken and Dawn.
Yes, very tight. So Crescent leading coming into the last 500 meters.
Good move by Crescent in that third 5.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So tight between the Thunder and Dawn. Looks like so we're coming into the last 500. We're thinking about sitting up tall, keep breathing, keep pressing into the rhythm. You can see here that the crosswind picks up a bit because you lose the shelter from the island. And here we have UBC on your screen now, receiving their medals for winning the Senior Women's 8.
UBC, that's Alex Birkinshaw, Caitlin Greber, Claire Brilliant, Paula Cameron, Lucy Vincent Smith, Michelle Weslowski, Allison Goodwin-Wilson, Katrina Walker, and Michaela Ashley.
Yes.
I will say, again, I do have a bit of that insight knowledge on the Thunder crew, sitting down a little bit on Crescent as they were coming into the bottom 500. Frank Luo stroked the under 17 lightweight coxed 4 for St. George's School this year. They were sitting 3rd coming into the bottom 500 meter in that final at CSSRA this year, and they ended up winning. So he does know how to lead a crew, how to stroke a crew through that final sprint, coming to the line to kind of work through another athlete. We'll see if they can put something on, whether Conshohocken's going to work off their sprint, whether Dawn's going to work off their sprint to get themselves into a good position. But when we last saw this race, it was Crescent in control. We'll see what happens.
Here we go. Coming down to the line, you can see all the crews are entering the red buoys and beginning to lift for their sprints. It does look like the Thunder have moved out a little bit on Dawn, and then Crescent and the Thunder definitely going down to the line as high and hard as they can.
Yeah. Right, definitely coming up in the Thunder crew. They're staying together. Catches going in together.
Yeah, you can see Right by them, Conshohocken, about a length down.
Yeah, not
Sprint towards the line.
not quite sure where Crescent is. Looks like the
Yes.
Thunder crew heads in the boat, and Elijah just rolling around a little bit, putting everything he's got out there. Can't quite see where Crescent stands.
Coming down to the line. Still can't see Crescent. Oh,
It looks like Thunder.
the Thunder had an amazing sprint to the line, like you said. They brought it up and sprinted from third all the way into Henley Gold. Congrats to the Thunder. So that crew again is Rohan Kawan, Elijah Brown, Jackson Bailey, and Frank Liu, coached by Vincent
Amodio.
Modio.
Really exciting
race.
for the first Thunder showing, really at least in a final at Canadian Henley. Got a couple other crews in the regatta still. An under 19 men's double. Those were the semifinals earlier. They were actually shifted to tomorrow. I'll talk about that in a moment. They've got an under 19 men's quad, and these U17 athletes that just unofficially won the under 17 men's quad, they'll be racing doubles starting tomorrow.
Definitely a tight sprint for second there as well between Crescent, Conshohocken, and Dawn. Very close to them as well. Good race. So now we're at the start of the under 19 women's single. In lane 2, we have Leander with Abby Millette. Lane 3, community rowing with Anna Deschamps Ritter. In lane 4, Argonaut Rowing Club with Mary Law. Lane 5, Deep Cove Rowing with Erin Patterson. Lane 6 is Ottawa with Rachel Weber. And lane 7 with Casadilla with Deborah Hofstadter. And we have a start. They are off. Looks like everyone has gotten cleanly off the start and are going high and hard into their high rating strokes.
Katie, I've got to say I'm really excited for this race. One of the, I think, most equal fields we've had today. Certainly the senior women's single, U19 men's single, the U23 lightweight women's single, and the U19 women's single, all across the board, some really accomplished athletes. Now these are some of the youngest athletes in that kind of groupings that I listed, but right now in Leander, that's lane 2 on the left side of your screen. You can just see her now. She came 4th in the 63 kilogram single at CSSRA this year. She won the 63 kilogram double. 2 years ago, she won the U17 single here at Canadian Henley.
And then looking across, you have the gold and silver medalists from the CSSRA 63 kilogram single. So Erin Patterson won gold for Deep Cove at CSSRAs. You can see her squeezing her bow ball out in front right now. And then from the Argonaut Rowing Club, Mary Law medaled at CSSRAs as well. So definitely a very tight field. In lane 6, there's Rachel Weber. Rachel was on the Row Ontario U17 team last year, and she did not race at CSSRAs due to Ottawa's flood of their boathouse, but she has been training hard, whether it's on the water or in the erg room, and is ready to bring it today. So right now we have a close-up of Deep Cove rowing with Erin. You can see her with a big send at the finish. And you can also see that crosswind and how it's affecting the crews right now. You can see how the water's rippling over from port to starboard, and it is a struggle. You want to slightly point your bow into the wind without going into the lane beside you. So definitely an emphasis on sending it with your starboard oar right now.
Yeah, and that'll be something that Erin's been familiar with Deep Cove. Certainly they host a couple regattas through the year. Their Deep Cove Invitational in the fall last year, late September 2018, was so windy that halfway through the regatta for the second flight of racing, they actually had to change direction and race into the wind rather than across the wind, because a couple crews, including some of the under 19 men's 8s, had taken on so much water from the crosswind that they sunk.
Wow.
Yeah, well, not a normal scenario, but something that Erin training there day after day will now be familiar with.
Yeah, she's definitely well prepared. So right now on our screens, we can see the Thunder being awarded Henley Gold.
That's
Congrats. Is that the first ever medal for Thunder?
certainly since Vince Modio took over 2 years ago. I'm not too familiar with the history prior to that at Thunder. They're kind of the junior youth program that's run out of the UBC Boathouse, technically part of the UBC recreational program.
Awesome.
So really exciting for those athletes.
Yes, congratulations. It's very exciting.
For three of them, as I said, so Frank Luo traveled to CSSRA with St. George's School. The other athletes, they've never been to St. Catharines. They've never really been to a major championship regatta. So really exciting to see them pull that off.
Yes. So it looks like tight racing in the U19 single. Erin Patterson might have it by a deck or so right now. It's hard to tell by the angle, but it's definitely tight. Mary Law is right in there. Casadilla is right in there. Ottawa's right in there. Rachel Weber is known for having a very strong sprint coming into the finish. So definitely someone, even though she's a length down, to keep an eye on. But close racing all across. Mary Law and Erin having a secondary CSSRA showdown right now.
This is really exciting. You know what? I'm sure in the moment, the girls, I'm hoping they're appreciating it. I'm hoping they're enjoying the moment, but at the same time, this is so exciting to see these two athletes that would have 2 months ago gone neck and neck for a bronze or a gold and a silver medal at CSSRA. Now they're doing the same thing, but there's only one medal on the line. That's the Henley Gold.
Yes, they are getting a little bit tight and close together in the lanes. Some oars crossing over, but it looks like they're beginning to separate now. And it looks bow ball to bow ball.
This is really exciting. They're coming across in front of the island right now, and it's
Mary Law.
It's Mary Law just taking an inch or two every stroke on Erin. Erin's trying. She's digging in, trying not to get let Mary go away. There's about 750 meters left, so the race isn't over, but Mary's just put on a really clean move there over Erin.
Yes. And you can see here a close-up of Erin just digging in that third 500 and demanding it through her rhythm.
I think something you mentioned for Rachel Weber out of Ottawa, really exciting. They did unfortunately have that flooding this spring. None of the Ottawa crews were able to come down to CSSRA. So if she can keep herself kind of in this mix, it'll be really exciting to see what she can do, as you say, if she's got a strong finish and kind of rely on that. Really exciting on her behalf, despite the limited training opportunities, I guess, in the spring season. She still made the Canamex team for Canada this summer. So that's kind of the junior development program. So she actually would have been teammates with Erin for that regatta down in Saratoga, Florida.
Yes, that's awesome, and an awesome accomplishment, especially given the Ottawa Rowing Club situation. So right now it looks like, again, Mary Law and Erin are just trading, and it looks like Mary might have it by a touch, but it is close and tight racing. And you can see Rachel beginning to lift the rate, and Casadella, Deborah, is right in there as well. It is a tight race. And then we got CRI and Leander in the race as well, a little bit further back, but definitely going for it from those outside lanes. You can see Erin just began to lift the rate. She's bumping it up, and it looks like she's moving.
Really exciting here. I'm sure on the inside that Abby Mallet out of Leander, she like we said, she took the under-17 version of this event 2 years ago, so she's got the pedigree, though she's not on our screen. Right now we're just seeing Erin. I think you're right. She's put on a move. She's lifted her rate. She's, I think, ahead of Mary again. So we're seeing those two going back and forth.
Yeah.
Rachel out of the Ottawa Rowing Club closing in.
Lift CRI a little bit back, but definitely as they're coming into the red buoys, that last 250 and beginning to lift the rate, but it looks tight between Erin and Mary.
Yeah, it does look to be Erin and Mary going to the line. Erin in control. She led for maybe 1,200 meters. Mary took over for 400 meters. Erin's put herself back in. You can see this is what happens with the small boats, with the singles. The leads can change that much easier because the overall boat speed's not that high. You can make that lift and make a change in positioning really quick.
Yes. And it looks tight coming down to the line, probably last 150 meters. And it looks like Erin is out by a deck, but it is close.
This is super exciting. Seeing another close race. We've had a number of them the last hour or so really come down to the line, especially some of these small boats. So exciting to see here in the under 19 women's single how this plays out.
Yes, so we're lifting the rate, just maxing out to the line, and it looks like it will be Erin through the line first. Congratulations to Deep Cove, followed by Mary from the Argonaut Rowing Club.
So a repeat of the CSSRA 63 kilogram women's single.
And it looks like in third we will have Rachel Weber from Ottawa, followed by Anna from Community Rowing, and then tight to the line for fifth. Ooh. It might have been Abby Millette from Leander, but Deborah from Casadilla was right in there as well. Good racing.
Very tight racing, very exciting racing. One thing to take note of, really exciting. So last year's winner in this event, Haley Mercury out of St. Catharines Rowing Club, she right now is in Tokyo racing for Canada at the World Junior Championships in the women's double.
Yes, it's very exciting to see the progression of these athletes, right? Moving from winning Henley, and then your next step is to earn a position on the Canadian or American national teams, or anywhere in the world at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we've got those crews from South Africa, we've got some crews from South America. Always exciting to see the international presence here at Canadian Henley, and like we're just talking about, the caliber of athletes you're getting here. Certainly at all throughout the regatta, you've got Canadian Henley as this stepping stone for athletes looking, whether they're under 23s or juniors, to get some high caliber club level racing before making the step maybe next year, maybe the year after that, onto a senior or a development squad and racing for their country.
Yes. So we are well into the senior men's lightweight 4. We have in lane 3 Hanlon, in lane 4 Thompson Boat Club, lane 5 Montreal, and lane 6 St. Catharines on their home course. No. So it looks like Montreal has had a good start. You can see a close-up on them right now. Everyone looks like they're fighting this crosswind as it's blowing them from side towards starboard. It also looks like St. Catharines is definitely into a good rhythm, pushing it along and handling the crosswind well. Obviously, they are very accustomed to it as they race on their home course.
Yeah, and their coaches, Scott Anderson, Tom Kent, they've been in charge of the lightweight men's squad, senior lightweight men's squad here at the St. Catharines Rowing Club for a number of years now. Both athletes accomplished in their own right, and they've been coaching around the St. Catharines Island for a while. So they know what they're doing, and they're athletes. None of them are new athletes. They all are going to be really experienced, and they've gone up and down this course, I'm sure, more times than they'd like to count.
Yes. So we have a close-up of Thompson Boat Club being pushed around a little bit by the wind. They just pushed off to starboard, and now they're correcting, maybe over-correcting towards port right now. But they'll get it back and centered into their lane. Pretty good rhythm. Off to the side, you can see Hanlon Boat Club. Also looks like they're in the race. Pretty crisp rowing. It looks like Thompson, again, having a little bit of issues with their steering. Just challenging conditions.
Yeah, and this is the first straight 4 event that we've had today. So we've had some small boats, lots of singles, doubles, and pairs, where there's just the one person, maybe 2 people in a crew, might not even have steering enabled in the crew. We had some 8s and coxed 4s, where you've got the coxie, very important, being able to control the crew and the course. But this senior lightweight straight 4,
St. Catharines is well out in front, commanding rhythm, coming into the last 600 meters of the race or so. They are pushing it out. They're sitting up tall. The catches are crisp. It's looking good.
And it's been a couple of years since St. Catharines won this event. So Argentina won it last year, UWO Boat Club in 2017 and 2016. Katie just gave me a knowing look, knowing that I went to University of Western Ontario and I rowed for UWO BC 2017. First year I hung up the oars, so nice. Can't take any credit on that one. 2016, I believe it was won by Martindale Rowing Club, kind of on visit here from Australia. And in 2015, it was won by UWO Boat Club. So it's been a couple years since St. Catharines has taken home this event on their home, not home soil, but they're in a pretty strong position right now.
Yes, and here we can see on your screens Erin Patterson being awarded Henley Gold in the under-19 women's single.
That's right. So she's going to hoist the Alex Wilson Trophy. So Alex Wilson began as a St. Catharines Rowing Club athlete, later had a successful career as a coach of high school and club crews that would span over 50 years, 50 years. In 1960, Alex coached the Canadian straight four at the Rome Olympics, and he would continue rowing as a masters athlete well up into his 70s. So that's Erin Patterson from Deep Cove up in kind of the north shore of British Columbia, just north of Vancouver, here in St. Catharines with the Alex Wilson Memorial Trophy.
Yes.
The senior men's lightweight straight four, which looked to be St. Catharines' race to lose, and it might take something serious to make that happen. They're going to be racing for the Fred Carter Memorial Trophy. Fred was a longtime treasurer for the Canadian Association of Amateur Oarsmen, later known as, well, really, that's just the precursor to Rowing Canada. Sometimes I know that Fred.
So right.
Go ahead.
It looks like right now we're zoomed in on Montreal Rowing Club, but you can kind of see the puddles of St. Catharines Rowing Club sitting beside them. We heard the beep, so it looks like St. Catharines has taken it, and right now what we can see is Montreal coming down to the line.
Yeah, wow.
That is a commanding lead.
So that is Montreal that has crossed your line, and Hanlon, or that's
crossed right now.
Yeah, that's Hanlon.
And then Thompson Boat Club is still coming. There they are, coming down to the line now.
So you haven't seen St. Catharines, but you might have seen their puddles.
Yes. It's really the definition of leave them in their puddles. They're in your puddles.
Wow, that was a commanding performance by Jacob Giesbrick, Ryan Walter, Brady Afredi, and Eric Buchanan. Some longtime members of St. Catharines Rowing Club and some locals here. So really well done to them. They'll be taking home some more Canadian Henley gold medals, and they'll hoist the Fred Carter Memorial Trophy.
Yes. So now we're looking at the start of the men's senior pair. In lane 2, we have Mendota. Lane 3, Mendota. Lane 4, Riverside. Lane 5, University of Victoria. Lane 6, New York AC. And lane 7, a third Mendota boat.
Always a strong Mendota presence here in the senior men's events at the Royal Canadian Henley Regatta as long as I can remember, and that remains true here in the senior men's pair with 3 entries making it through to the final. If you are just joining us, this is event number 17, Thursday at the Royal Canadian Henley Regatta. You may be looking at your draw and saying, but Brent, that was scheduled for 5:58 and it's 7:23. There's been some thunderstorms. We're running all of today's finals a little bit delayed as a result. The semifinals from the under-19 men's double until the under-17 women's quad, those have all been postponed and changed to tomorrow morning. With tomorrow's draw, I'm sure coming, if it's not already on the henleyregatta.ca website. So check that for tomorrow's draw with all of those changes to reflect the weather, and also today's official results. All of our results here on the live stream are unofficial.
Yes. So it looks like a clean start, well into the race and well into the rhythm for all these senior men's pairs. Looks like there's been a good start in lane 2. Looks like a good start in lane 4. I mean, everyone is off cleanly, but it does look like lane 2 might have an edge on the field from an outside lane. That's Mendota, the crew of John Young and Sam Wheeler. But again, we have yet to see a side shot, so it also looks like a good...
Wow.
Yeah, it looks tight.
I can't call that one, Katie.
Yeah.
Not yet, at least. We'll see how the rest of the field plays out.
Mm-hmm.
Bit of a challenging stroke there from Mendota in lane 3. That's Kurt Muller and Tyler Bernstein. On your screen right now, that's the University of Victoria athletes Alex Stapp and Alexander Sawyers.
Yeah. So you can see at this point of the course, this is where there's a gap between the mainland and where the island begins. So crews will get hit by a gust of wind here that may or may not take them by surprise, but it does make both your rhythm and your steering challenging at this point to maintain it here. But it looks like these crews are handling it pretty well. Lane 2, Mendota might be pushing a little bit into their friends in Lane 3's lane. And here we have St. Catharines awarded their Henley Golds.
Really exciting for those guys. The University of Victoria athletes may be a little familiar with the crosswind. So they train at Elk Lake in Victoria, British Columbia on Vancouver Island. Elk Lake, they host a couple regattas through the year, perhaps notably the summer event, the BC Championships, and the spring event, the Elk Lake Spring Regatta, both over their 2K course. And both of those events this year had a pretty serious crosswind. The BC Championships in the summer a couple weeks ago, in fact, had some serious wind delays. So going out there in the pair, training there on a daily basis, Alec and Alex from UVic in lane 5 might be certainly familiar with those conditions. We'll see how some of the other challengers like Mendota in lane 2, on your screen right now, Riverside, Alex Twist, and James Nelson. We'll see how those athletes can respond in these conditions, whether they're familiar or not, and see how they and UVic play out through the second half of the senior men's pair race right now.
Yeah, looks like Riverside had a good rhythm. Right now we can see lane 7 Mendota and lane 6 New York AC battling it out. But there we go. These guys look really relaxed and in a rhythm in the Riverside boat. Same with the UVic boat. Looks like we're in the protection of the island right now and really calm water, and everyone's able to cruise and execute a piece to try to capitalize on these calm conditions.
Yeah, so we've got the side view right here, and wow, not a lot to give. Mendota in the outside lanes, they're definitely in it. UVic, Riverside, I mean, even the last place, I say with air quotes, they're half a boat down. Like there's nothing
four
to give.
crews bow ball to bow ball. And the other ones are within half a length. So we've got Mendota in lane 2, we've got Riverside, we've got UVic, and we've got Mendota on the outside lane, all bow ball to bow ball and battling out as we come into the last 500.
Super exciting to see these athletes racing. So they are racing for the William Hamilton Merritt Trophy. William Hamilton Merritt was an influential figure in the Niagara region in the early 19th century. While on patrol as a serviceman during the War of 1812, Merritt came up with the idea of a canal that could bypass Niagara Falls and link Lakes Ontario and Erie. In 1824, the Welland Canal Company was formed, with Merritt as the financial agent. The first route of the canal began in Port Dalhousie, using the same body of water that these athletes are racing on right now.
Wow.
As we said, this is the 137th Canadian Henley, so it's actually been situated here since 1903.
Yep. And it looks like we're coming into, the last 400 meters, and again, it's tight. Lane 7 might be up Mendota a little bit, but lots of experienced crews. One thing to note in the Riverside boat, Alex Twist is about 34 years old, so you could see how he was relaxed in the wind and stayed composed, and you can definitely tell he's a lot of experience. And actually, Riverside just began to wind it up right there a little bit early.
Oh yeah, they're putting it on.
Yep, they're going for it. But again, everyone is. We're bringing it up, and it is tight racing. I can't call it from here.
No, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. As you said, Riverside and UVic neck and neck, with Nyack really hanging on to them on all those inside lanes as they're pushing in. It is Mendota in lane 7, I think, with the lead, but they're so far out to the side that they may not have that immediate sense that the inside crews are making the push, and it looks like they're not responding quickly enough.
Yeah, it looks like New York AC has definitely brought it up. UVic is right in it. It is going to be tight right down to the line, and we can't even see the lanes that are closer to the island, closer to the grandstands. But right now, New York AC,
UVic.
Mendota,
Wow.
we can't call it in between them, but everybody is winding it up. Riverside
Ooh,
might be a
man.
length down. It looks like it is between
UVic
and New York AC.
I think so, and they're going bow ball to bow ball. We've had so many close races in the last hour and a half,
Ooh.
and it's going to be stroke for stroke.
UVic looks like.
I think UVic by about a deck.
Yep, UVic, and looks like it was, yeah, they're raising their hands
Wow.
up. UVic unofficially leading New York AC. We can see Mendota coming through the line, and Mendota coming through the line again. Looks like they've decided to share a lane.
Well, they train together.
Yeah, makes sense, right? So unofficially, congratulations to the University of Victoria, finishing with a time of 6:57.8.
So congratulations to Alexander Sawyers and Alex Stapp.
Right.
Again, those unofficial times on your screen. Unofficially, that's at least the third race we've had with, again, unofficially, less than a second to go between first and second place. Wow. Official results you can find later today on henleyregatta.ca.
Yes, so right now we have the under 23 women's lightweight eights in the gate. This is event number 18. And in lane 4, we have City Island. And in lane 5, we have Vesper. So everybody's sitting up, getting ready in the race, and we have a start.
2-lane straight final. This is a dual race. I hope both crews are ready for it.
Yes. So a dual race, it does have a little bit of a difference, mentally at least. Well, you're always just focused on executing your best possible race. There is something to be said about strategy here, and whether you go out for a quick start or push through. It does look like City Island is having some trouble in the crosswind right now with their steering. Probably hit a gust of wind and got thrown off a bit, but that coxie corrected it very quickly. Nicole Gagan. Vesper holding straight in their lane, doing a good job and shifting down into their rhythm now as they push away into the wind. So in the Vesper boat, we are in bow, we have Adriana Borcheren. In 2, we have Mackenzie Sandel. In seat number 3, we have Claire Fredlanger. Seat 4, Catherine Duger. Seat 5, Sophia Lewis. Seat 6, Ava Sack. 7, Rachel Ilgen. And then stroked by Elaine Turney and coxed by Emily Maffey. And it looks like they've had a good, strong start. They're really shifting into their rhythm and handling this wind well.
And that's got to be tough for Sophia and Lane. And seat 5, sitting in the middle of that Vesper crew. She would have raced maybe an hour and a half ago, maybe a little less, in one of the, I think the singles, one of the lightweight singles.
Wow. Yeah, that's definitely a quick turnaround. Was she in the U23 lightweight single?
That's right. She was in the U23 lightweight single in lane 4.
So right now we have a close-up on City Island. You can see on your screens as they have a rhythm here. This boat is stroked by Anis Auger, who's backed up by Paige Lind in 7th seat. You can see them as they establish the rhythm, pushing through this second 500. The coxie Nicole Gagan adjusting for this crosswind. You can see that right now they're in that opening where it's a really strong crosswind and it's really challenging to handle. It's important to have strong finishes here, keeping the boat set, and just pushing and sending and sticking to your rhythm and your race at this point. It does look like Vesper is up by about a length. You can look at Vesper's blade work, a little bit sharper, a little bit cleaner as they handle this wind well.
I wonder if the Vesper athletes are, true senior athletes, and whether or not the City Island. I know sometimes you'll get in the lightweight events, you might get some junior crews that are racing up a category because it kind of fits where their physical development is, rather than necessarily their age.
Yes. Well, here they are giving it a good race, and definitely being aggressive and pushing away in the City Island boat.
Yeah, really exciting here. And this is, again, another lightweight event that we've had a number of those today. So all of these athletes, all 16 of the rowers, certainly will have had to weigh in earlier today at 59 kilograms or less. That's the lightweight women's category, weight category, 59 kilograms. They have to do that every single day that they're racing. So for this being a straight final, many of them will have only had to do that today, but if they're racing other times, so as I said, Sophia Lewis, she was in the under 23 lightweight women's single. She would have had to weigh in previous days when she's had heats or semis, or if some of these ladies are maybe racing fours later in the week. They'll have to weigh in every single day where they race. They'll probably have a window of about 3 hours in the morning where they have to come upstairs to the weigh-in room and make sure they're at weight.
Yes. So it is Vesper leading the way down the course right now. Good send on their boat. They're in the calm part, really handling everything well.
Yeah, it's really clean rowing. They're looking like they're just tapping it along. They're very confident. They're very poised. It's I mean, City Island not quite pushing into them. So Vesper rowing with control, no sense of panic, nor should there be. And it's quite a nice display.
Yeah, it is. So as you said, I looked it up, and the City Island boat is all under 19. There are also some younger athletes in the Vesper boat, but I think this is a really good learning opportunity and development opportunity for City Island to go out, race a senior race, practice executing their race plan, and have just a good throwdown on the course.
That's such an important aspect of being a junior athlete. Certainly, I think it applies all the way through your rowing career, but certainly as a junior, when you don't have that many races under your belt, going out and learning how to execute. You make a really good point, Katie. It's going out and going through that process, going through the warm-up, going through the start, transition, body pace, all of that is really important. And then it's not just going through it and doing it yourself, but it's coming together as a crew with your coach later and analyzing it, saying what went well, what didn't go well, what do you want to change next time, what do you want to reinforce next time, like what did go well, what can you repeat or try to find more of.
Yes, it's definitely a good learning opportunity for these athletes, and like you said, not just going through it, but reflecting on it and thinking about what you want to work on in the next year going forward as they build on this Henley result. So right now, coming into the last 500, we have Vesper out with a commanding lead, still pushing away, a nice solid rhythm, somewhat low on the rate given where they are in the course, but they're still clearing their puddles, getting out clean, and leading this into Henley Gold as they come down to the line.
Yeah, really, really well rowed by Vesper. They won this event last year. The year before it went to Saratoga, racing in the under 23 women's lightweight 8 for the Arthur M. Sims Memorial Trophy. Arthur Sims was a founding member of the E-Course Rowing Club in E-Course, Michigan. He took an active role in running the club from its very beginning in 1939, and it looks to be Vesper as the defending champions going to be 2 years in a row in the under 23 lightweight women's 8 with a commanding performance.
Yes, and here they are, last final strokes before they cross the line. They're winding it up, and congratulations unofficially to Vesper with a gold in the women's under 23 lightweight 8.
Have you ever been involved in a dual race, Katie?
Yes, actually a lot in university I was. I rode in the US, and dual racing is very common down there. Well, you'll race a series of 2 or 3 duels throughout a weekend.
Oh, like a series of them. That's really interesting.
Yes.
So any insight on how you might prepare for that?
Just working on how can we stay in control of our race, and talking about, staying within your own lane and dictating what is your best race possible, but at the same time, maybe not the rowers, but as a coxed, keeping an eye out for any funny business in the other boat to make sure you're staying in control of the race and in control of your crew and keeping them internal. So we're sitting in the start for the women's under 17 8. It is event number 19 and the last final for today on the first day of finals at Henley. In lane 2, we have Thompson Boat Club. In lane 3, Westside. Lane 4, Saratoga. Lane 5, Victoria City. Lane 6, Community Rowing. And in lane 7, City Island. And we have a start. Here we go, winding it up and getting yourselves into the race. The start isn't just about it isn't about getting out, it's about getting out cleanly and just getting yourself into the race, not ahead of the race. So all these crews have had a solid start. You can see that crosswind in your upper left corner, the flag. It's a good way to see what the wind is like right now. That flag, and it's a big flag, is fully up and blowing. So you know these crews are going to be working on handling the wind as best as they can. It looks like we have a good start, good clean start. Everybody came off just fine, and they're all beginning to shift into their rhythms here. This can be something that's a little bit hard to execute as a younger crew because you are excited and you want to get off that line. But it looks like lots of these crews have started to shift hard into a rhythm and really begin to push away into this race. So right now it is pretty tight. It does look like Vic City had a good start and they're off the line well. But again, it could be anyone's race right now. And yep, you can see going through the 500-meter mark, it is Vic City by about half a length, maybe a little bit less. And then the rest of the field is all overlapping and tight.
Yeah, that Vic City crew, I'm not sure how much of the personnel has changed, but really exciting for them. They qualified earlier this year as a crew to go down to the Windermere Cup. That's like the opening day spring regatta in Seattle, hosted by University of Washington. Usually notable for University of Washington inviting in international crews. Last year, Oxford Brooks raced the men. This year there were some German crews, Boston University, but there's masters racing, there's junior racing. The junior racing, historically, they qualify by winning, in the past at least, at the Brentwood Regatta in the Junior 8 or the Junior Cox Quad or the Junior Cox 4. University of Victoria, I believe they took both the men's 8 and the women's 8 down to the opening day. It's a really interesting regatta. The final couple hundred meters at least is right through a bit of a channel. So if you've been to maybe out of the Trent, if you've gone through that channel, think of that. But 4 boats across, same crowd attitudes though.
So it looks like a good race in the U17 boats. CRI is right in there. Vic City definitely looks like those two crews are even, if not CRI out by just a nudge. But here they come into the 1,000-meter mark. You're going to be coming down past the island right now. Be able to hear everyone cheering you on, get excited by that, but still thinking about pushing through this third 500 and being able to just maintain your speed, maintain your rhythm as you come into this area.
I'm sure that CRI Coxie, they know that they are the defending champions. 2 years ago, it went to Thompson Boat Club. They're on the inside lane in lane 2 this year. CRI defending champions, getting pushed by Vic City. Kind of coast to coast little race we've got going here. So it's really exciting to see how these under 17 women are going to respond.
So right now in your picture, we have City Island with the pink blades as they tap along. You can see nice calm water. These guys are really pushing off. A little bit behind on the main fields, but definitely doing good. So it is a good race between Vic City and CRI. Vic City has it by a touch right now, but it is anyone's race right now.
Yeah, maybe a seat or 2 over a deck. With Vic City leading CRI as they're coming past the island. That's about 700 meters to go. On your screen, the Vesper women from the under 23 women's lightweight 8 getting their trophies and their medals.
Yes, congratulations to Vesper.
And again, this race in progress, event number 19, that's the women's under 17 8. This is our last race of the day here. As I mentioned earlier, there's been some weather delays, so they had to move some of the semifinals to tomorrow. Now, we've had delays throughout this week as a result of thunderstorms and some windstorms. The rain certainly hasn't helped, but I believe as of right now, the forecast is pretty clear for the rest of the week.
Knock on wood.
Knocking on wood, crossing my fingers, doing everything I can, certainly. Don't know how much effect it's really going to have.
Ooh, it looks like Vic City has come out a little bit on the lead, followed by CRI, but then tightly followed by Saratoga, West Side. I mean, it's a good race. So right now we have a close-up of Saratoga. They are located in New York, the state of New York. You can see they just went into the opening and whoop, got pushed over to starboard a little bit, but their coxie's handling it well, getting it back into it. And you can see they are definitely going for it as they wind it up, coming into the last 400, 300 meters of the race right now.
Yeah, and it looks like Vic City maybe up to 3/4 of the boat on CRI. That's Vic City in lane 5. Coach Griffin Thomas, Cox Sophia Ragosa, stroke Stephanie Wardell, Julia Peterson, Ellie Sousa, Nina Corwin, Stella Fraser, Mira Calder, Claire Hallett, and Ava Paul.
But CRI is definitely still in it. Vic City is leading down to the line, but it is a clear race for first between CRI and Vic City. And then the race for third, it is also tight there between all crews. Thompson Boat Club, West Side, Saratoga, and City Island are all in it as they come down to the line. But it does look like Vic City has it by a little bit. Again, hard to tell from the angles, but it looks like Vic City coming into the line. But CRI is right in there. Man, it is tight.
It did look like Vic City was leading coming into this 500.
But
CRI made a push.
Yeah.
Vic City responded. CRI responding again. What tenacity. It looks to be Vic City by a deck right now. There's still about 3, maybe 5 strokes to go.
Yeah, it looks like Vic City by a little, maybe
more than that strokes to go. But yeah, you're right. Vic City commanding display. And what a back and forth in that bottom 1,000. But what a race by some of the youngest athletes in the regatta. I'm super impressed.
Yeah, so unofficially, congratulations to Vic City on Henley Gold, followed by Community Rowing. And they had a big lead on the field. We are still waiting for the rest of the crews to come through as they finish the line. Looks like Thompson Boat Club, followed by West Side, followed by Saratoga, followed by City Island as they sprint towards the line right now. Good racing. So Victoria City Rowing Club winning Henley Gold unofficially with a time of 6:49.61. Congratulations.
Very exciting.
And a tight finish with Community Rowing finishing just 2.14 seconds behind them.
All of today's official results will be available on henleyregatta.ca. Tomorrow's revised schedule, there will be the change in schedule, taking today's semifinals, some of today's semifinals, placing them into tomorrow's schedule. That will also be available when it's ready on henleyregatta.ca. Please visit that website for all official results and the updated draw. We will see you here on the live stream tomorrow as soon as that starts and we get underway. But tomorrow afternoon for events number 20 to 36, we'll be here on the live stream with the commentary. Hope to see you then. I've been Brent Duncan.
Katie Brugling, and great. Thanks for listening in, and congratulations to all of today's Henley Gold medalists.